IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories. More people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
Yes, 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 yes. You know what it is. I to the Ism, H to the Izzo talk show. Back like we never left. Sir Charles A. Ron.
Yeah.
In the booth, in the building one more time for the good people. That's right. Where Flex at when you need them.
That's a
Flex,
DJ, hold
Flex
on.
drop a bomb
That's
on
a clue bomb because his queens get the money all day.
Oh man, but you know where to find us. Your home for today's and the classics, hip hop and R&B, WVAI 101 Jams. Tell a friend, IMHO talk show, because we got a show lined up for the good people, for the people. We still celebrating the great Women's History Month. We're going to be joined by none other than the good brother that says community work is still the best work, Martize Tolbert. Can't wait to hear from him. But we have an exclusive, a special guest. Been a while since we spoke with her. She's going to help us kick the show off. Just delighted to catch up with her and just get the actual factuals, as Flavor Flav used to say.
Yeah, man.
None other than Dr. RaShall Brackney, former chief of police here in the city of Charlottesville. And we're going to talk about what it meant to her as well to make history. Black woman, first woman of color to be chief of police here in the city of Charlottesville. So it's fitting. And as we keep moving forward to hear the work that she's doing, I know our listeners are going to learn from. I know we're going to learn a lot about her, what she's been up to, and how we move forward better within justice.
Yeah,
within justice, not with injustice. Okay, make sure I'm clear.
You're trying to do like a double entendre. Get out of here, man.
You
think you're a rapper or something like that?
I got bars.
Die line. I spits hot fire.
but give it up for my man Aaron. Aaron, came through private jet. The PJ landed at show, and he was like, "Hey, bro, I'm in town. I got a minute. I give you a minute. I'm gonna come by the station, say what's up to the family, say what's up to the people." So, Aaron is in the building. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling great, man. Feeling blessed. Always a pleasure to be here with the people. Great to see Chief Brackney. I heard now she's out there doing her thing in the quote unquote education space. Continue to do great work, but I'm excited to be here. Got to hang out with my man last night. We ate some chicken, watched some hoops, and we did our thing, man. So it's a pleasure, and I look forward to having some good conversations. And shout out to all the ladies for Women's History Month, man.
Yes, indeed. And we'll be joined by none other than Miss Max and Razor. So like I said, we're going to give y'all another minute. We're going to play a quick song and get right back to Dr. Brackney. Does that sound good, Dr. Brackney?
I'm here.
We'll be right back on her line with you. So like we said, IMHO Talk Show. Tell them tune in 101.3 FM or streaming worldwide on any FM app that you so desire. Whatever your heart's desire, you don't want to miss it, y'all. IMHO Talk Show. Be right back.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
Yep. Told you we'd be back in the place to be. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor, Ron, IMHO Talk Show, y'all. And one more again, we are here for yet another show, another great opportunity to edutain, as we hope the people have come to appreciate. And without further ado, as promised, we are joined by none other than women's history. And I say women's history because she was the first female of color to be police chief of the city of Charlottesville. We are joined by La Familia.
What?
Chief Dr. RaShall Brackney. Dr. Brackney, how you been?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey.
How's it feel?
You know, I mean, like we still, kicking and screaming our way through. But but we hanging in there, blessed, it's all about perspective, so definitely blessed. How about yourself?
I hear you. A little bit cooler up here in Cambridge, Mass. It's chilled up here as well, but not for the same reasons y'all are chilling. It's just cold up here on the Tuesday.
Right.
It's just cold up here.
Yeah. Well, we got food. Like Mother Nature played a little trick on us. We thought summer was coming early into February, and then mid March was like not so fast. So we feeling the breeze too.
I know my sister used to call that trick of brother weather.
Right.
Chief, good to hear your voice. We've been missing you. It's been like a where's Waldo? Where's the chief? Where you been?
Hey, listen, trying to stay out of the crosshairs, and do the work that we do every single day.
Right.
That's right.
I understand.
Good stuff. Like I said, pleasure again to have you on our airwaves. Been trying to follow the great work that you continue to do. And so first, being that we've been celebrating women's history, right? Like when it comes to your efforts and your work that you've been doing, like like all other things aside, which we'll get to, like, give us your feelings and your stance on being women's history, meaning being all that you've accomplished, like what women's history means to you as you approach your different endeavors and being the first to do this and first to do that.
Thank you for that. I always am torn when we start thinking about first, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're the first, you're the only, the other.
Mm-hmm.
That in 2024, in March, we are still saying those same things, that we still have women for the first time, women of color being the first time. And I'm encouraged by it, but I'm also disheartened by it. Like, what haven't we learned yet?
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't we figured this out, that we have to break through so many ceilings and so many barriers just to get where folks have been for a very long time now, who don't look like anything like us on there. And just one correction. So not just the first woman of color to run that police department in Charlottesville, the first woman ever.
Okay. Okay.
Still. They're not putting any other women back in there. Come on.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely not.
Why not? You done messed it up. You went through like a bull in a china shop and messed it up for everybody after you. All the women after you.
You know what? I don't think we messed it up. I think the city messed it up, right? The city can't get it right. Sound like, the movie Life, can't get right. So they mess it up. And because the city is comfortable in its white progressive appearances of dismantling systems of patriarchy and supremacy, they don't want anybody in there. They just want it in name tag only. So, and that's just in my humble opinion. They don't want it because look who they brought after me. Somebody who's a very palatable, agreeable white male who comes in on his white shiny horse, but now everything he's doing everything that was done in the 90s, rounding up black folks, putting cameras in the community, talking about we're going to arrest juveniles and their parents for their juvenile behaviors, partnering with Project Safe Neighborhoods. So I didn't mess it up. The city just doesn't know what it wants.
I wasn't like,
she was being facetious.
I hear you. The city just don't know what it wants.
Can I say something, piggyback on that real quick? Because I have made that statement to a lot of people, not necessarily phrasing it, the city doesn't know what it wants, but it is my opinion at times that the city does not want what it is asking for.
That's where I was going to.
And so I feel that at times individuals may be given an impossible task. And that the task may be given in response to it's maybe a knee-jerk response, maybe a thoughtful response, but in response to the demands of the community, but with actually no real intention behind making whatever it is that the action they may be asking for to be put in place materialize.
Yeah. I think we see that in a lot of venues too, right? It's like a lot of times you need a fall guy. Well, you don't need, but a lot of times whatever that structure is sort of looking for a fall guy to say, well, if it doesn't work, then you know who we pointing the finger at. But I'm sorry, Dr. Brackney, go ahead.
No, you're right. No, you're right. I mean, think about it. It's a win-win always for the city or anyone who appoints a first or an only or an other, right?
When you started that job, when you began as chief, did you know that you were being given an impossible task that the city didn't actually want?
No, as a matter of fact, that's the thing that I underestimated, right? I thought we had a black mayor, a female mayor, a sister that's coming from the community. Dr. West Bellamy was sitting in there at the time. Like there were these individuals who really were about that work of deconstructing and dismantling, right? The systems that were Charlottesville. It was right after the Unite the Right. So I don't think it was an impossible task. Was it a Herculean task? Absolutely. But it's not impossible to dismantle systems that allow people to do well in their communities. I don't think that's an impossibility. We have enough resources to do it. But here's the thing about it is they always sit in a safety space. When you put somebody like myself in, a black woman who I'm not your DEI hire. I don't care what anybody else said around their little affirmative action comments when they hired me. When you put somebody else in like me as the institution, you can say, look how progressive and forward thinking we are
Right.
if I'm successful. If I fail, right, regardless of the reasons that of the failure or the perceived failure, they're like, look, we tried, we gave the person an opportunity, they couldn't do it. So they never lose. So it's always a win-win when they're the first, or when they think about it in those ways. It's never always a win-win when it's somebody, who comes in and tries to change systems.
Yeah. Now, and Dr. Brackney, like I was gonna try to ease you, and I was celebrating you first, but but Max wanted to jump in the deep end, so let's do it.
Max. I miss popping down there, just popping in and saying, "Hey, what's up, my sister?" I don't know if it,
Right, same.
So you said a lot, and I appreciate your boldness, and I know that the community and our people like appreciate what you said when it comes to just being bold and speaking up. So let's take it back, right? And let's sort of like be sequential when it comes to maybe we need to refresh some folks, and maybe some folks are new to this story and not aware. Like, so I'd like to start with what was your initiative within the police department that eventually turned sour? Like, what was it that you were doing or attempting to do within the police department, like before things went bad?
Yeah. And so, when I first arrived there, as we all know, it was on the heels of the Unite the Right rally. The community is still very raw. I'm preparing for the first marking of the events of the previous year in 2018. I've got 6 weeks to do that from the time I arrived. Jason Kessler, if you remember, is trying to have another rally there. People are in front of the station, literally marching and demonstrating. Cops and Klan go hand in hand. Honk if you hate the police. Out in front of the police station. We're also preparing for the fact that James Alex Fields is going to be on trial later that year, or starting his trial for the murder of Heather Heyer and the maiming and just assaulting of close to 19 other individuals. And I'm coming in after the heels of the Keefe report, who's saying that Charlottesville was a complete failure. Interesting, he absolved UVA from everything. And, he may have said that, the state police were might have not done or weren't as successful. So I'm coming in with that. I'm coming in with what does it look like to train a department in 21st century policing standards when they've not had any training other than this most basic training that comes out of, Ware's Cave on the other side of the mountain. So you can imagine what the training looks like.
Right.
It's not training that is going to be successful for someone who looks like us. In addition to that, they had not had any professional development, any sort of training outside of their own city or even the state. The majority of them were not part of major affiliation professional associations. Lacking degrees, physical degree or professional degrees. So trying to start degree completion programs because the top tier of your department all had high school diplomas running your policing agency. Now, imagine a $3 million or an $18 million agency. Not saying that that's not it. You make it through high school, alive. I'll take it. So I'm coming in with all of those, and I'm also introducing to the community and to the police department, what does cultural bias and implicit bias look like? And not just implicit, explicit, where people may be racist that are in this department. And I'm coming in as the Black woman from above the Mason-Dixie line in charge of it.
Right.
The community is trying to get a civilian review board together, if you remember at the time. Like, it was just a lot. So we start putting these structural systems in place, and we find that the community is not as wanting of those systems as it says it is. And people are extremely vocal. And I'm coming in where people are comfortable, calling me out my name, Black folks, calling me some biracial stuff, literally up in public meetings, calling me the B word to my face. And these are being disrespected in ways that no one else would have ever been disrespected. That includes Al Thomas, Longo, and the current chief. I'm sure no one's ever walked up to him and called him a B.
Men.
Right? Not happening.
Yeah.
So those are all the things I'm managing. And then we find out that there's corruption and violence and even more misogyny going on in the department. And when you're told to actually start holding some white boys accountable who are carrying guns and badges, that doesn't go over well because there is this entitlement that people believe that they are deserving of jobs, and especially police jobs, and particularly when they're policing Black communities.
But did that come as a surprise? Did that come as a surprise to you, like the level of corruption?
Yes, and the only reason it came as such a surprise to me is because they were doing it so blatantly, and it was so many supervisors. Like it was the supervisors who were leading this, field training officers, supervisors leading these things. And, you know, in agencies, you will have levels of corruption, and we were sustaining lots of complaints against them. But the level of comfort with that and how long they had operated with impunity before my tenure. So these things don't just happen in the 3 years that I'm there. These are going on for decades under other people's tenure, and people are comfortable. And when you start making people uncomfortable, to include having them criminally charged for the things they're doing, terminating them, demoting them, and the whole gamut, that doesn't go well with people who are invested in the system.
So what do you feel was the kicker there? Was it?
I'm surprised you said that, Joe.
Yeah, like, so what does, so do you feel, and Razor, you can get to your point if I don't touch it, exactly what you want to get at. But I was curious, like, what do you think it was more so being Black and female to where there was resistance, or do you think it's a corrupt system that actually doesn't want to change?
And here's one more thing.
I'll take Max, and then we got Razor in there too. Y'all
yes,
right. Jot them down. Got one too.
But here's something else to consider. Oftentimes, an individual may be given a task. This is what we want you to accomplish, but we also want to tell you how to do it. We want to give you the strategy to do it. And so how much then did your strategy, or not following the strategy that may have been laid out for you, play into that too?
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing about telling people how to do it, it's not a matter of the system. Like I said, it's not individual people who are racist or corrupt. You know, if you listen to Brian Williams, professor at UVA, he said something very interesting for the first time. It's not a bad apple. It's not a bad tree. It's not a bad branch, reed, trunk, or root. It's poison soil. So you're putting good seeds in poison soil, and you're always going to get a bad product. So when people are part of a system and they're not inoculating themselves against the poison, it's easy to be corrupted by the system. So that's the first part of it. And it is a Black female coming in. And whether people want to admit this or not, in Charlottesville, and again, I'll say it here, Black community was the most unforgiving to me. Like, Black community was the one that was in my face the most, right? And then when I'm gone, that's a community that then becomes vocal about my leaving, right? But when I was there, there was limited love.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I feel like Wes and Nakaya face the same thing, honestly. Like, I'm glad you pointed that out, but I'm glad you pointed that out because I feel like that we do that as a people, and like we do need to be called out about it. And you know, if this steps on toes, and you know, then so be it. But me speaking as a Black person of the community, that's absolutely right. It's like we, you know, like don't know what we got till it's gone kind of thing. Like we still have sort of a crab in the barrel mentality. Until it's gone, then we want another one. But then when we get it, we don't necessarily know how to treat it.
I just think what she said was very interesting because inherently, I just believe that law enforcement in this country is always going to have a problem because I just believe the entire country is anti-Black, period. So anytime.
Oh, yeah, you're not lying. Like anti-Black rhetoric, anti-Black violence, racial terror as a means of controlling populations. Absolutely. And when I'm screaming this stuff from the rooftops, that this is what's going on and this is how you dismantle it, you know, how do you do it differently? Again, I think sometimes because we can't imagine anything different, we keep trying to reimagine and reinvent, etc. I'm gonna shout out to your former mayor, always my mayor, Nakia Walker. She started something like imagining a Just Seville. Mm-hmm. She didn't say reimagine a Just Seville, because we ain't never had a Just Seville. We've never had a just criminal justice system. It's always been a criminal legal system for us. So that becomes the difficult part of it when you're trying to create something for the first time and people can't see the vision because they do want something now. Yeah. Like literally now. And if you think about it, before I even arrived, I remember my first council meeting. I'm sitting there with my husband. I'm not even your chief yet. They're just recommending to be the chief. And people are screaming at me and cussing at me and in my face. And I'm thinking to myself, Malcolm X, the most disrespected, unprotected, neglected woman in America is the Black woman, right? And how would that have ever gone down under any other circumstances? I haven't seen any of them same persons jump up in Longo's face. And he over there doing some stuff at UVA. And I'll say that out loud. I ain't seen none of them jump up in your current chief's face. And he doing some stuff over there. But the comfort level with continuing to pile on and how we treat each other is why supremacist institutions survive.
Yeah.
Because we give them a foothold.
Yeah. And we've seen the same thing with President Obama too, even at a federal level. Nobody has ever stood up in the middle of an assembly and said, "You lie, you're a liar," and got been that disrespectful to a leader.
And I was gonna just add to what Chief Brackney, and that falls along the lines. What I'm saying is that I think y'all, I hate the term Black community, but I think that many times as Black people, we forget how hard it is for other Black professionals to even exist in these professions in leadership, as if they don't go through what other Black people go through every single day. So you have to think about, in leadership, not only is she having to deal with the community, she's also having to deal with her peers, other people in leadership and things of that nature. I always remember, and I want Chief Brackney to talk, but the comment that Charles just made about President Obama getting like 15,000 trash bags full of hate mail, and he laid it out. And nobody had ever seen anything like that, of people just not wanting him to be the president because he's Black, not because he's not qualified, not because he's not a good leader, and just the pain and the suffering that person just went through as a Black person. And then, oh, by the way, Charles, you still have to attempt to do your job.
Yeah. Let me elaborate on that too. I got to elaborate on that because we're getting comments from the listeners as well. So we want to make sure that we're being fair and that nobody thinks that we're going easy on you or anything, Dr. Brackney, as well.
Oh, listen, I'm sitting up here at Harvard. You know what they did to this Black female president up here. So y'all know I don't think anybody going easy on me. I'll take any questions you give. I'm from Pittsburgh. Ain't never scared.
Right. So let me ask you from this perspective, and then I'll share a couple of comments that we have here online, because I think what sort of sums it up is, like, there is a profession, right? Like there is a certain regard for any office, and a lot of times we don't agree with the parliamentary procedures, right? And so I'm curious, because I hear you speaking a lot more boldly now than you did when you were chief. But I bring that up because it kind of makes sense, right?
No.
I mean, but it kind of makes. Maybe like, but I guess the point I'm making though is that even if you like disagree with that statement, I think a lot of times when people see our Black elected officials, whether it be President Obama, whether it be Dr. Bellamy, whether it be Nakia Walker, Dr. Brackney, whoever we can think of, we have that big brother complex, which is you ain't Black enough. No matter what you do, you're never going to be Black enough. So what I'm saying is, do you think that that's part of the issue? Like when we see our comments here, like the citizens a listener saying the citizens tried to tell you about the racist police officers, but you wouldn't believe us until it happened to you. It says you turned your back against the Black community. It says Black people have gone against the new chief many times. So I'm just curious, what role, when you hear stuff like that, what role does it play of it just being, I have to respect this office and the way that I go about things and do things, and I may not appear quote unquote Black enough to you sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, when someone was in city council and in public said that I should understand women because I'm biracial too. Like, what? What? And it's a Black person, right? So that's a Black person. And then again, when people say things like, oh, we tried to tell you about the racist officers until it happened to you, or they've gone against the chief, I'm just going to say, show me the money at this point, because I keep every email I have. I keep every documentation of stuff I have. If I watch your city council meetings, people up there saying nothing. I'm watching the meetings, right? I'm watching your civilian review board meetings. You currently have a chief who has said that they're not giving anything to the civilian review board and haven't done since October. I ain't heard nobody up in their faces about that. They were all over me because I said specifically, tell me what you hope to accomplish with the civilian review board. And is this going to get you your desired outcome? That's a logical answer for any resources when you're trying to change systems. Now, let's talk about the leadership. Barack Obama, let's say Dr. Bellamy, let's say, Mayor Walker and myself, when people see you in these positions, they assume somehow you just fell there like manna from heaven, right? They don't see what happened every single day along the way. And let me just break it down for you this way, in just terms of a visual, since we are talking about women's history and breaking history. When we talk about breaking through these glass ceilings, just a visual of it of yourself. Think about a glass ceiling. You go through it head first. That means you are damaging your head. Glass is getting into you, shards are deep into your skin. And as you continue to go up through this and you finally land and break through, you land on a floor that is shaky, that is already broken. And the likelihood that you fall right back down through it because you have no institutional support, no structures or resources to help you, you get damaged all the way back down. And you know what happens? On the way up, you're right, crab in the barrel. On the way down, people are hitting you with like, oh, I tried to tell you that you were being racist. So that's just my thoughts on it.
So if I could say something here. Chief, at least from my vantage point anyway, when you began your tenure here in Charlottesville, it did seem like by and large that you had the support of the Black community. When I started to notice a shift, the type of things that I was hearing was that you were in some ways just as indifferent or just as crooked or harmful to the Black community, albeit maybe in different ways, but to the Black communities as, say, their previous white male chiefs. And so, and honestly, I'm probably not saying anything that a lot of the members of the community haven't shouted at you at some point or another. So what's your response to that? Because I think that's when people took on that mindset for whatever reason, that's when the community at large started to hear Black people be more vocal about the wrongs or perceived wrongs that you had done.
Right. And you know what? I will take that as, let's say everything you're saying is absolutely true, right? And so every single time I've said, when someone said Chief Brackney is a liar, I said, cool, tell me when I lied. Give me an example. So Max, when you're hearing about the perceived wrongs, tell me an example of when someone said, what did Chief Brackney do that was harmful to the community? I'll take it. Write it in there. If we're saying, if people are comfortable with the commentary, write it in there. I was told all the time, Chief Brackney's a liar. And I'm like, okay, tell me when I lied. Let's roll the tape. Right? But even yourself right now, Max, tell me an example of when the community said Chief Brackney is as harmful. Give me an example of what she did. It can't be, I feel like, I don't believe this. Point to the things that I put in place, the things that were harming the community. And I'll hear you. But I'm going to sit here and wait. Because everything I put got rolled completely back.
Right.
They're no longer putting out there. I just looked at your website. They're not putting your investigative detentions up there. Haven't been posted since 2023. I used to put all of your use of force there by subject, category, date, the type of force, Black male officer, white male officer against Black at the highest level, ain't up there anymore. Look at your internal affairs. I used to put all summaries. I came in and cleaned up. They hadn't closed the case in 3 years in internal affairs.
Preach.
We started closing, posting them. So
and
when
just
policies are online that never were online before I arrived there. You have an investigative, a Fourth Amendment analyst who analyzes every body-worn camera in detention up there. Every bit of your arrest data and charging data is now on a website. So talk to me about how I'm hurting the community. I'll hear you.
It's part of it though, like just policing itself, right?
Yes.
It's like because police have a job to do, right? And sometimes that job is a harsh consequence sometimes on families and community if the police are supposed to enforce the law. You follow what I'm saying? Like, so it's almost like people expect police to be like social services, you know what I mean? Like instead of doing their job sometimes.
Right.
You know.
And just add one more thing about policing. I'm the one who's up there in the public with Joe Platania and I, saying we're not charging things like small amounts of marijuana. Let's look at an authentic diversion program. Those are not the conversations that are being had now. They're talking about let's partner with the feds, Project Safe Neighborhoods. I pulled us out of Jade. Don't talk to me about hurting that community. Jade did damage to that community. You know what? I took heat from white male officers for pulling us out of Jade. I pulled us out of school resource officers. I don't care what anybody on the back end says about that. Tell me how that's hurting your community. They're trying to put them back in there so we can continue or reinstitute the school to prison pipeline. So I will hear you. Now, will I take ownership? Maybe my messaging and branding wasn't soft and fuzzy and warm enough for them. But when you got young folks out there being put in prison because somebody's willing to do it because there are discipline problem in school and it's a classroom management issue, miss me with warm and fuzzy. We're trying to make sure that these kids aren't just being streamlined into a carceral state.
Right.
So Chief Brackney, I have a question for you. And so again, thank you for being here. So one of the things I always wanted to ask somebody like you that's in your position is that how come we as tax-paying citizens don't approach policing or bad quote unquote officers as an economic issue? So let me give you an example. So you have an officer that has been sued, has caused problems. And let's say he's cost the city now. Let me say this. I don't know how when a city gets sued, where that money comes from. But how come the community or the people that are tax-paying citizens that pay salaries like yours and things of that nature don't approach it as, Chief Brackney, Officer Johnson has had these incidents and they have cost the city $10 million. Can you justify what is the economic reason for keeping this person on the force? We never approach it like that publicly. We approach it as an emotional issue, but I would rather go to you. So you explain to me, Ms. Brackney, how this guy that we pay $50,000 a year, that's beating up everybody, alcoholism, DUI, all these, but this guy continues to be on the force, but he cost the city $10 million. Does that make sense to where the position?
Oh yeah. Listen, I always approach it. It's not even just an economic value in terms of your dollars and cents, right? It's the value. Right? The value of your reputation. Right. Because more people who are getting sued, you can't get insured. So the monies come actually from your insurance, but the premiums that you pay come from the taxpayers.
Right.
So the city is insured against these kind of incidents, right? But here's the other thing. You can't insure for your brand. I fired 7 officers. 7 officers. 7 officers. While I was there, demoted several, right? Suspensions of 45 days, right? You can't tell me what I wasn't doing. Go look on the websites about the number of complaints that I was sustaining for just your reason, because then I can terminate and then I can fire, right? That under those conditions. So here's the thing that I would tell you about the finances of it and why you want to do it from a financial standpoint. If an officer is out there, the likelihood that they cost you, not only just that, just, abusive, illegal stops, those kinds of things, that ruins the reputation. People won't even come in your communities to have businesses, right? They're like, I'm not going to be there. there's a ban in Florida. The NAACP says don't go there if you Black. That was the same thing will start happening in your communities when officers police the way that they then police. Now I'm gonna give you another example of why this is an economic thing, because the next time the officer does something and they hurt somebody, you just built a case. I'll give you quick examples. Again, I'm gonna just hold this Charlottesville accountable to the same way y'all held me so-called accountable. Y'all just had 3 promotions, or you just had promotions of supervisors. Supervisors. One of the supervisors that just got promoted to lieutenant, when he was a sergeant, I demoted him to a corporal. They just re-promoted him to a sergeant, re-promoted him to a lieutenant. I don't hear nothing in the community about this whatsoever. One of the persons who was a corporal that was part of the SWAT incident that was disciplined when people were doing all of those things, sharing videotapes of women that they had sex with, right? Letting their kids come to the firing range and shoot the weapons or detonate our explosives, right? Using misogynistic language and things like that, just got promoted. I don't hear nothing. Another person in this same group was taking pictures or videos of a person with intellectual disabilities, making fun of them, putting them on TikTok for clicks. And they just promoted him. You can't tell me that wasn't all in their jacket with the new chief when he saw it. You can't tell me you didn't see the demotions, the 45-day suspensions, and you still said, you know what, leadership position, yay. You can't talk to me about one officer when I'm giving y'all barrels of officers.
Right. Let me ask you your opinion on 2 things, Chief. The Flock program, that's a topic of interest here in the city. What are your thoughts on that? And then you had mentioned something earlier in the interview about when law enforcement kind of, I guess, is an advocate of holding parents responsible for their children's actions, and why you think that will or won't work. And I bring that up only because I have heard Black individuals say, that's a good way to go. Because in some cases, these are the adult's response. The children's actions are the direct result of the adult. And so if we hold the adult accountable, we can hopefully get these kids in line.
Yeah, and so let me just do the back one. Let's do Flock first. All right.
Okay.
I'm against Flock. I didn't bring it when they were offering it when I was there. Flock is not new. The reason I'm not into Flock and all these different automatic license plate readers and things of that nature, it's who's surveilled and who isn't. Where are they going to be using these programs and who is not?
Makes sense.
Typically, you know who's surveilled? Poor people, people of color, communities that are very urban, because I can get the most bang for my buck. 99% of the data that Flock or these automatic license plate readers, 99% of the data they download is non-criminal data. So they have all your data for no reason. Under Flock, it's mandatory that any of the data that I get, I share with any other police agency that has Flock. Who's controlling that data? How is it mined? How is it being sent out into the community that you have no say over? And on April 1st, your chief is going to present on Flock and why it's a benefit to the community. All right, I'm saying cool. We better be running Flock all over Park Street. We better be running Flock all over Greenbrier. You better be running Flock all over these other communities, or are you just going to be right down there on First Street? So that's it. Let's talk about parents and parent accountability. I would be okay with parent accountability. I got a daughter. She grown, right? She done got snatched by me on more than one occasion for behavior that I wasn't approving of. So I can appreciate that. But who is going to be held accountable as a juvenile parent and who is not? Right? Prime example that just happened when we were in Charlottesville. Give an example, and it came right out. This person said it. You had a young Black child, let's say a 4 or 5 year old, who gets out of the house. 2-year-olds get out of the house. They are like ninjas, man. They can get out of any locks, out of any cribs, and next thing you know, they wandering. You just happen to be in the shower. You're a Black child. Somebody's calling the police. DSS is now part of your lifestyle. They're talking about you abused and abandoned your child, you neglected them, and you endangered them.
Right.
White child gets out in the same yard in the yard, somebody's bringing that child home. Ain't nobody calling 911. They were like, oh, look.
That's very true.
They had one right in front of Charlottesville.
Little baby Barbie got
Maxine
out.
one.
True story. I was dropping my 2 teenage sons off at Charlottesville High School last school year, and I'm driving down the road going about 45 miles an hour, and this toddler is walking down the middle of the street in front of CHS, the middle of the street, all by herself, following a ball that's rolling down the hill in like the little gutter. And so I stop the car and kind of park across the street so cars behind me can't get through, and run out and go grab the child. And then her father comes from the house, picks her up and apologizes and goes back.
At least he apologized and wasn't fussing at you.
Right. No.
Don't touch my child.
No. Apologizes and no.
Now, under most conditions, let somebody else see that little child walking down.
Right.
Right. And let it be a black child or a brown child or somebody who's non-white appearing.
Right.
Somebody's calling 911.
Very
and
true.
next thing you know, DSS is all up in your stuff.
Yep.
Right? Let this be a white child. It's like, oh, you must be so exhausted. You could barely get a shower in.
Right.
And your child got out. Very different. So that's how I feel when it comes to juveniles. If we mean that every time you charge a juvenile, you charging their parent, roll with it. I mean, everybody, not just in certain incidents. Your child shoplifts, you get charged too. Is that how we're rolling with this? Or is it only with certain crimes that we are, because we don't know if their parents are out there encouraging children to shoplift. You know, we don't know who's encouraging what. Just because they're catching these on these videos lately and they're saying that the parents are encouraging it, they should be held accountable. I think we all should be accountable for our children, but as long as we're doing it equitably and just, which is probably never going to happen in a system that's not built for us.
Now, Dr. Brackney, we are up against the hour, so we get ready to take a break, and then we'll come right back to you. And let's talk about sort of post police chief life and like sort of how that ended, and I'm like where that took your journey. But as we go to break, though, to kind of close this off, though, if I'm not mistaken, the SROs for the schools were something that came up during your leadership as well. And weren't you against, or aren't you against SROs like in high schools?
I pulled
talking about bringing that back.
I pulled them. They did. I mean, we won't talk about all the private conversations where people say it was the schools who did this. Yeah, right. Y'all can believe that if y'all think schools were really trying to get rid of them. Yes, I pulled them for reasons. You can keep schools safe. There's actually these physical security officers, school security officers, who can keep the perimeters and the building safe. You don't need them inside the schools. They weren't doing anything except classroom management. They were getting part of the discipline. And instead of having them in the schools, I took those same SROs and had them patrol all of your bus stops, so that's where it all jumps off. It's not, what happens in the community finds itself to the school. But you sitting at that bus stop, it's going to start there from the time you on the bus. So I took those same officers who knew those kids, put them at all these bus routes and bus stops. You can disrupt a whole lot of things right from the beginning.
That's fair. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So we're going to take a quick break, family. Tell a friend, because that is a lot to digest. We're going to need some water. And so, now we are joined by none other than Dr. RaShall Brackney, former police chief of this city of Charlottesville. And we're going to be right back with her to talk about, life since being police chief, and what's transpired. So you don't want to miss it. Much, much more great info for your family. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor, AA Ron, IMHO Talk Show.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories. More people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all of these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
Yeah, buddy. I to the Ism, H to the Izzo talk show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor, and still in the booth in the building with none other than Dr. RaShall Brackney. Join us catching up with Sister Girl. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. You doing good? You doing good so far this Sunday afternoon?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Good to hear. That's what we want to hear. So to pick up where we left off, so we kind of went through you making history as female and as a Black woman at that. But and the goals that you had for the police force here, that maybe didn't turn out, as you would have wished. So let's go into sort of what's been happening since then. First of all, when they let you go, now let's be honest about this. If like before, so we're going to get into the lawsuit, right? And what the grounds was for that. But doesn't employers have the right to say, we don't like the way that you're doing it, so we don't want you to be the chief anymore? Now, I know I really overly simplified that. No, I know I overly simplified. I did that on purpose. But kind of is what it is. It's like, was it wrongful? Like, we just don't like the way you're doing it, so we're gonna get rid of you. Like, so what's your rebuttal?
Yeah, so I can appreciate that, right? Like, if someone says, "Hey, you know what? I'm not clear on your vision. We're not sure where you're going with this. In your contract, it says we can terminate your contract without cause or for cause, right?" So for cause, y'all know if they could have terminated Sister for cause, they would have. There ain't nobody who's not going to fire us if they can, especially since there was different benefits to doing that. The city would have just had to give me 2 weeks notice and said, here's the reason, here's the cause, and you're fired. But the city decided to terminate my contract without cause. In other words, no cause. So it's kind of hard to say we don't like where you're going, but we're terminating your contract without cause. Because then that would just say that we have some reason or some cause to terminate you. So that's when you start peeling back the layers and say, yeah, you can terminate me because we don't like where you're going. But then here's what you can't do. Can't then go around telling everybody I'm incompetent. Can't go around telling everybody that I'm unprofessional. I'm difficult to work with. You can't then go around telling everybody that you had told me and had conversations that you wanted me to look at recruiting differently. You can't then turn around and say, you know what? 3 days later, all these surveys that are coming from the Police Benevolence Association with Mike Wells, which is the equivalent of their union, saying we don't have confidence in Chief Brackney. And I'll call him out, Bellamy Brown, working with him, who's head of your civilian review board. You can't have them colluding to say, let's create these things to make it seem like she's not doing her job. Oh, and it's at the exact same time she's investigating and terminating officers for corruption, right? And you can't do it at the exact same time when Mike Wells is recording Mooney and saying things and playing these tapes to Boyles and doing that. You can't also then start creating fake documents and putting them into my personnel jacket. Because Black people always got to have receipts. So everyone knows I was recording my city manager. I have my stuff on recording. I have the papers he had in front of him, and then the fake set of documents he and Lisa Robertson produced later as to why I was being terminated. You can't interfere with my contract like that and have these back-scene conversations, where Bellamy Brown is texting Heather Hill. Why are they having these conversations and indulging her when we've already agreed she's going to be terminated? Well, how would he know that in July or August? How would that all happen unless people are behind the scenes working to do things differently? So had they just decided to terminate my contract and like the mafia kept quiet, they might have got away with it. But they didn't do that because their arrogance, again, about how you treat Black women allowed them to go back and forth, including things like, Snook and all the comments they make about my incompetence. Oh, Black women were leaving because of her. I was the only Black woman that was there. There was no Black woman who, if they were leaving because of me, it was because I was leaving, because I was the only one there when they all started talking black women were leaving because of me. Hadn't been no black women there in over 2 years. I was there by myself as the black woman chief.
So was that the grounds for the lawsuit? You know, the things that you just named and lay out, that's your grounds, and give us an update on the news that broke in January about it being dismissed. Like,
yes. So interestingly enough, so not only that, discrimination, the way they treated me versus people who had been terminated for cause, they still allowed them in the building. They locked me out of the building, locked me out of all of my access. And then I had to report to Tito or a civilian to even come into the building, taking my pictures down from the building. Even still to this day, crazy stuff, cutting off my credit card access so I couldn't charge things, pulling me off committees and still saying I'm the chief, or putting out that somebody else was the chief when I was still the chief. Like, they didn't do that to anybody. And they had fired some white boys for some stuff. But they still kept coming in every day and no one did anything like that to them.
Was there any part of you before you got to that point? Was there any part of you? Because I think I believe in women's intuition, and before being a police chief, you were a woman. Was there any part of you before all of this madness happened where you were like, "Yeah, I'm probably this ain't going to end well. I might be fired."
That's why I was recording people, because you know you're gonna have to need receipts. So because something said I don't trust the system, and I don't trust these, and there was these little cues when they started taking up for making excuses for individuals who were involved in misconduct. And I'm thinking, why are you all coming at me when y'all should be like, okay, you know, it became always an excuse. And I'm like, something ain't right here. And, you know, there became a time when Mooney to my face said, you know, I haven't always supported you and done the right things. And I'm like, that's not comfortable. That means you're doing something behind my back. And again, I don't ever forget I'm a black woman in the South, period. So yes, my intuitions, Max, kicked in long before. I'm like, it's like a cheap neck. Something ain't going right.
Right. And so what's the status since January, and like, what does it mean that the judge dismissed the charge?
He dismissed 12 charges. All 12 charges. Without, and he said without any evidence. At this stage, when he dismissed it, you're not even supposed to present evidence. It's supposed to be, here's the charges, and if everything I say is true, you then go forward and schedule it for trial, depositions, etc. There's a point, if you look at the transcripts from when Moon, who's dismissing everybody's, I'm gonna let y'all just know, 85-year-old Moon, who's making decisions about these cases. At one point during our transcript, he even basically insinuates that I need to put on my big girl clothes, that I knew what I was getting into when I came there. So that makes it okay to do the illegal things because I knew what I was getting into. So we're in the appeal stage. And, you know, I'm just leaving it up in God's hands. I ain't got time for this. This will end the way it's supposed to end. And if it does, I'm releasing every tape I got. Just for the record, I'm gonna release tapes.
You know, so we're having the book festival here in Charlottesville, Virginia Book Festival. I happened to attend a talk yesterday by Roxane Gay. She wrote the book Opinions, and she made an interesting statement during her interview. She said that I'm going to add a little bit context to it. So we have all, at some point in our lives, heard someone either tell us or told someone else that, you know your history. You know, we got to know where we came from so that we're not doomed to repeat it. And Roxanne's point was that, like, knowing our history doesn't necessarily matter anymore because history does repeat itself, and not just does it repeat itself, but it repeats itself boldly and right up front and in your face. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, and then I am going to do it. Do you agree with that?
Yes. As a matter of fact, so when I'm done with this, I'm literally on a train up to Brown University to teach a course to basically all the Ivy chiefs and their staff on just this. And the first part I say is not only just know your history, you need to own it publicly. So knowing your history is one thing, but if I don't tell you and own it publicly, that's when we're most likely to repeat it, because think about the book bans that are going on out there. Think about the conversations over critical race theory. Think about all of the things in media that are being distorted. We are in a postmodern or post-truth modern era. When you can have things like alternative facts be a part of the narrative, it is important to know the history, which is a perfect segue into one of the things that I've been doing is I am writing a book. It is called The Bruising of America, When Black, White, and Blue Collide. And it will talk about those kinds of history things, my personal narrative through Charlottesville. And then the second book that I'm currently writing at the exact same time, so you all will hear it here first, is your inheritance doesn't have to be your legacy. So we inherit a lot of things, but that doesn't have to be the thing that we leave behind, for other people.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that exclusive drop. Now, when did you say the date? When is the book available?
No, I'm still in the writing stage.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
All y'all listeners, if y'all got
working on
out there, you got book folks to say, "Hey, I'm into publishing. Come talk to me. Holler at your girl."
That's right. Now, what got you into that space? Since we're talking about that, how did that passion come to be, or was that already part of your career goals to get into the classroom?
So I had already been teaching, but after my departure, George Mason University called me and said, "Hey, listen, we would love to have you here, and would you consider coming on as a distinguished professor?" And I was hesitant to think about it full time because, my career had ended the way I thought it was supposed to end. But then, as I continued to sit with it, think about the audiences that you can reach. You can educate an entire generation about these issues, and not just in Charlottesville. They go across the world. There are 40,000 students at George Mason. Imagine being able to access them, and then they access their networks. So you don't have to worry about a cloistered space or an incestuous space where it's only in a small area. It actually is, I think, a different way in which I'm being called. So George Mason is where my anchoring of my courses are. I'm teaching a course this semester called Policing Black Bodies. Highly, it's a waitlisted course, so people are really interested in it. And then I'm currently up at Harvard, so I'm doing both things. I'm a fellow up here working on a social justice impact project on policing.
Now, Max, I don't know if that was a Freudian slip or you purposely said, or you purposely meant to say end, Dr. Brackney. You said the way your career ended. Is that the end of chiefing police, or is that?
I don't know if I will say yes, it's the end. But at this season, at this time, I think I am now positioned for a time such as this to be in this space. Now, if I'm being led to another one, that only remains to be seen. There's that saying, in his heart, a man plots his course, but God is the one who ordains our steps. So I'm not plotting anything. I'm just whatever pathway and purpose continues to unfold, I'm going to walk it.
Gotcha. Now, and I have to ask as well, you have strong Black man in your household as well. How is he taking all of this? Like all of the drama, all of the good and bad publicity? I'm like, what has he been saying? Like, what kind of arm bearer has he been? Because I can just imagine, like for me and Razor, you know what I mean? Like we probably had the fellas, up on the town hall steps, but
Listen, and this brother's from Jackson.
Bang, bang.
And you're a strong character too. So like, nah, I got it. Don't worry about it, baby. I got it.
That brother is originally from Jackson, Mississippi, right? He went to an HBCU, Tougaloo, pledged Alpha, and grew up Kojic. So and still is. So there's been times when I think he really wanted to go into his ethnic bag, and then there were times I think he wanted to just go in his straight up husband bag and say, you know what? I don't care who she is, and that's my wife, and you don't get to do that to her. But you know what? We're playing the long game here. We're playing the long game here, and so he's been an amazing support. the work that he does, I mean, when you talk about strong Black intellectuals, all his works are on lynching and slavery and slave narratives. And the second book he's writing right now is called Promises Lynched. So this brother's doing his work too. He's extremely supportive. And, you know, he's there. That's my ride or die. But there has been times when he started to drop the Dr. Wheelock, and it was going to be straight up Stefan up in that house.
I feel you. So you got to feel more comfortable, more free in your current space, right? Would I be accurate, or do you feel like police department was like your lifelong dream, and that's more your element, or do you feel? Yeah.
So policing was never my lifelong dream. Like literally, I was led to that, and you know, and thought I had fell into it, but in reality, it was my calling, and although I didn't know it at the time. I would just say this about where I am now and where I was then. I was well equipped to do that work then. I think I'm even more equipped now with different experiences and different exposures. My 21-year-old self when I started this job in policing and my 61-year-old self right now are two very different people. And so being able to do this work differently and impact differently. And maybe it's, you know, the trainings that I do, I can reach departments, you know, and still not have to manage what's going on my own. So, well, you know, we'll see what's happening. I don't know if it's ended. I can tell you this. I ain't coming back to Virginia to be no chief anywhere.
That's fine. Okay.
Hey, Charles, can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Brackney, I just want to say thank you. You know, thank you for allowing yourself to be stretched and tested. Thank you for allowing us to watch you. I watched the movie with Max yesterday about Shirley Chisholm. And too often I always wonder if people had the chance to do it again, would they? And hearing you talk about how life has changed for you and you're more equipped now, I just want to say thank you.
Yep, thank you for that. Definitely echo those sentiments.
Yep.
It looks like you may have lost your audio. Did you lose your audio? I think she did. Uh-oh. All right, let me try to re-add her in. All right, Dr. Brackney, can you hear us? Uh-oh, I think we may have lost her. Well, Matt, you know, I just had one other thing for her. Yeah, still got a video. I just had one other thing for her. Maybe she can reconnect the audio. And I was going to let you, you know, close out how you want, because I know she has to go at 1:30, and then we have, you know, next guest coming in. But you know, but the one thing I'm curious about is, and I'll pose it to y'all, is like, is it possible to be diplomatic and get things done, or if they keep like, if you're a Black person that's easily digestible to the public, and you just stay on board and you don't rock the boat too much, can you really cause change? Or or on the flip side, if you're really trying to change things, the system is not gonna let you do that easily. Like, that's the question I always had, because I always thought, you know, Chief Brackney was, you know, I mean, like pretty palatable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, but I can see when you have an Akai or a Wes, I can get how that can rub people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when she got ousted, to me personally, I was like, man, that the system does not want to change, no matter who you are.
You know, I don't think that the chief was palatable to many. And I'm not saying that that's was necessarily a bad thing. And I do believe that if you aren't rocking the boat at all, then you aren't doing something right. So I think it requires a little bit of that good trouble in order to make real change.
Gotcha.
And I'm sorry that we lost her, because I did want to just give her some flowers as well, and just let her know that, you know, there's a lot of people who were happy to have her serve our community. A lot of people that respect what she did, both male and female. And, you know, there's a few takeaways, more than a few takeaways that I have from my experiences with the chief. And She was very bold, non-apologetic in what she did. Definitely brilliant, intelligent lady, outspoken, didn't back down, and was committed to not just what she was hired to do here, but also committed to that internal compass as well, and accomplish what she knew was the right thing for the individuals that live in this community. And so I certainly respect her for that. And also, as a woman to woman, it says a lot. Men obviously have to balance different things, but in terms of how they function in day to day, and that's much easier for y'all, I believe. You're able to simplify it, and you aren't judged by it, and all those things I feel apply. But as far as a woman,
we're judged, but it's simpler,
right?
I don't know if it's simpler.
Well, you're not judged to the extent I believe that women are, but so I recognize that the chief had to balance all of these things, such as being Black, being a woman, being law enforcement, being a wife and a mom, being an advocate, being whatever it is that she meant to the Black community, being whatever it is that she was supposed to be to the white community, being all of these different things, and then trying to not only just balance that, but choosing which one of those things were going to spearhead whatever space she was in at the moment. And it's a balance to make all those things work together at one time, and then also pick one, choose one, because that's just what the situation calls for. And we as Black women play that game daily, and it is not easy for all. And when someone does make it look easy, that's a gift, that's a talent. Not to say that that's what's going on internally, but it is a gift. And so I respect her for all of those reasons, and thank her for her service here. Wish her the best of luck.
Thank you for that, Max. And Dr. Brackney, you rejoined like in the midst of a praise right there.
Y'all dropped me like they did my contract.
Like that.
That's what we do here in Charlottesville.
But Dr. Brackney, I know you have a tight schedule and you have to go, but we definitely, wanted you to receive that praise that Ms. Max so eloquently gave you, and also, you can have the last word. I guess to kind of sum a lot of that up, just going forward, with your hopes and maybe like newfound goals are, especially in the face of systematic change, and being Black and being Black in leadership in the midst of that.
And any encouragement to the women that admire you, and just would take some words of advice from you.
That's good. Yeah.
The first thing I would say is Max, you're right. Know your true north. Know your true north. That's not always easy to discover along the way, especially when you're trying to juggle. As I tell people, Black women, we juggle glass balls. We don't just juggle balls. You drop one of them and the consequences are devastating to whomever at that point in time. Second, as I tell everyone, I start every one of my days, whether it's in the classroom now or when it was in policing, with a certain Psalm 78, 72. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart, and with skillful hands he led them. And so having that integrity of heart is part of what made all of the feelings of impossibilities possible. And knowing that I've been uniquely gifted and skilled to do the work that I'm called to do. As for the women out there, the young women, people like my daughter, who's 30 and who believes I can do anything.
That's right.
What I say to her is all the time is, we get to do this work. We ain't got to do this work, but we get to do this work. And when you go into everything you do, getting to do it, the opportunity to do it, being blessed to be put in that space, don't ever shrink back from that space. You own that space with everything in you. There is nobody in that room who is better than you will ever be on your worst day. And that's how I go about my day. And I'm just fortunate and lucky enough and blessed enough that I've been put in places as difficult as they have been. But in order to them, please be ready. When those opportunities, you got to be prepared. You can't just expect that it's going to happen to you. You got to be prepared. You got to be able to see it, just like that intuition. Like, take that move, be bold, be brave. And if you're going to bet on somebody, bet on yourself, because you can never ever lose. You know you can guarantee the outcome if you're betting on yourself.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
You think that covers it, man?
That covers it. That's a wrap.
Well, I mean, like, while we, Dr. Brackney, please don't be a stranger. Keep us in touch, especially when when that book is about to drop. Definitely got to have you back then, if not before then.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, listen, I do a podcast every week. It's called Black Under the Law. So we talk about all the things in the criminal legal system. Drop in, listen to us. We've had some fire conversations.
Okay.
Awesome. Good stuff.
All right. That's it. Thank you again for sharing your Sunday with us.
Thank you. Have an amazing rest of your day. And to our path cross again, be well.
Be blessed.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, Black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More Black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that Black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially Black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Yes. IMHO Talk Show. We told you that we're going to do it for the people. Only like we know how. Tell a friend that there's much more show left. Much more edutainment from yours truly, Queen Max, Brother Razor, or that Rascal Razor. I guess that sounds better. Rascal. But yeah, you know how we do, and that's why we are so glad and delighted that we have yet another staple, another cornerstone of our community that is here with us right now. And we were just joking, as we were coming online, that it's been a minute, and we should have had Brother Tez up here much earlier, but he's a businessman doing great work, and so that's why we got him finally, though, because we're gonna catch up with all that great work that the brother's doing. But Tez, happy Sunday afternoon to you, man.
Man, it's a beautiful day to be with you beautiful people on this beautiful thing, man.
Love it.
I'm just happy to be here, be a part of this monumental, historical day with you folks, talking about some good stuff in our community and following ex-Chief Brackney. Ooh wee! I heard a little bit of it coming in. Ooh wee! You know what I mean?
Show.
That's what it's about, baby.
Big time, man. You're always looking sharp. I would ask you how you doing, but you looking like you're doing good.
Deion Sanders, you look good, you feel good, you play good, baby.
That's right.
My mentor teach me every day is an audition, so show up and be ready to go. So
that's right. Gotta love it, man. So you are national director of client and community engagement for the Fountain Fund.
It's
right?
a lot. I'm just a national director. That's kind of how I cut it. But yes, I'm the national director of client and community engagement at the Fountain Fund. Fountain Fund is a local nonprofit that started right here in our backyard, Charlottesville, Virginia. Ooh wee! Awesome. Stand up, Charlottesville, VA.
That's
baby.
Right. Big things.
But now we expanded. We expanded in 2 years in 4 different markets. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So each year that I've been there as a staffer, it's been always about strategic planning and putting us out there and exposing, the state of Virginia. But when national came, that opportunity is something we just couldn't fumble. That's something we had to take advantage of and leverage and do bigger things, because Charlottesville is a great starting point. It's a great focal point because it started right here. But it's a lot of folks out there who need that access to capital, man, and need that support from folks that did it and been through it. So, it's a bigger market out there. There's a bigger pond out there than it is Charlottesville. So, but this is our cornerstone. This is our flagship. This is where everything started right here. And we are locally right here at the Jefferson School. So check us out. 233 4th Street Northwest. You already know what it is. Charlottesville, Virginia, Jefferson School, Fountain Fun. We here.
That's right.
What states, if I may, Charles, what other states are you all in when you say international or
Absolutely.
national? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we started right here in Charlottesville. Then we went to Richmond. That was our first one because we wanted to be like, we wanted to tackle some of our partner cities as well. You can't go wrong with Richmond our way. But when national came right after that, so we went big and we went big to go home, right, Max? So we went to New Orleans first, because that population has been hit since Katrina, even before Katrina, and it's still got a lot of issues going on, challenges and barriers. Not even folks that's been re-entering, but folks that's been already in the community. So that was our first expansion, and then after that, Philly, and now Boston. We're in Boston in 2024, so I'm excited about that. I'm about to head out there literally in another month and a half to finish onboarding. We just hired our site director. Shout out to you, Jay Valor. Check him out on LinkedIn. Check him out in the Boston market. Our new site director. So yeah, man. And then we have our first staff retreat in another 2 weeks. So there's a lot of things happening on a RAS right now, currently and upcoming. April is Second Chance Month, which we kind of renamed it as Reentry Month. What I mean, giving back to our folks. From the folks that's been there. So there's a lot of happening in our community and all across this great country in April. So check it out if you want to get into some volunteering or do some giving back to the reentry population. Come on out there. We got a lot of things happening this month. We can talk more about it a little bit later if you want to talk about it. But I got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm a part of a lot of other things that's happening. So I'm just excited to be here to talk about it, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate taking time out of your schedule, to see the importance of sharing this news, with us and the listening audience. But let's back it up though a little bit.
Yeah.
For those who may be like, Fountain Fun, never heard of it, or not familiar with it at all. Break it down for us, like give us your stump speech when you selling Fountain Fun to the, to the masses.
Oh yeah. Hey, it's deep, bro, because I got all types of different type of spills and elevator pitches. But I'm gonna keep it real because we gonna keep it real and humble here. So
that's right.
It started right here in Charlottesville, but our namesake come from Fountain Hughes, who was a freed slave here in Virginia.
Okay.
He got quotes in the Library of Congress. You can look them up. But one of his quotes that we use, every day at the Fountain Fund is, "He sleep better at night, not on nobody a 0 red cent."
Love it.
And that's what our namesake. So shout out to you, Fountain Hughes, and your ancestors and the legacy that you left behind here, and we taking that and running with it. So yes, it started right here in Charlottesville, Virginia, in 2017. Our chairman is Tim Heafy. He was an ex-federal prosecutor here locally, and he had a hey Max, you ready to go real with this, right? So I'm gonna go real.
Let's go.
My man Tim Heafy had a humbling experience. Like I said, he was an ex-federal prosecutor. So one day he went to rent a U-Haul right there on Rowell, right there by Putt Rowell Hill. Yeah. So, and the guy across from him that was renting the U-Haul is somebody he put away for a RICO act.
Wow.
So this gentleman did 10 years. He sentenced him 10 years. He wound up doing 8.5 years. Right. Shout out to my man Walt. He ain't got no problem me shouting him out. He's still in our community to this day, and we still support that gentleman. But Walt looked at Tim and was like, "You don't remember me?" And I'm gonna pause for a minute because I asked him. I said, "Was you scared, Tim? Was you nervous?" He said, "Says, I was. As being an ex-federal prosecutor, I put a lot of people away. So I had to question myself, and I was like, I don't think I recognize you." And Walt was like, "Yeah, you put me away for 10 years." And they had a real dynamic, stare down for that moment. And he asked me, like, that happened. If it was one thing that could support you right now to get you back on your feet, what would that be? And Walt told him, "Man, just get my driver's license back." So the history of the Fountain Fund started was just helping formerly incarcerated individuals get their driver's license back, because at that particular time in 2017, it was hard for individuals to get their driver's license back.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to DMV because I'm working with you now. But you guys, woo, at that particular time, because myself and a lot of other folks in Virginia had to get all the courts in line.
Mm-hmm. So the capital to pay the restitution.
Thousands, Max. Okay. Thousands. Okay. There was no payment plan back then. It was get all these courts in order and come to DMV with all of these payments already in full paid, or you've been in a payment plan for at least a year with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money. In my particular case, I owed $3,800, $3,900. It was just under $4,000. And in my particular status, I was working at Jiffy Lube, bro. You know what I mean? Making $8 an hour. I ain't have it. You know, so that's kind of was my introduction to the Found Fund. But like I said, a little bit before that, he started it just because he went back to UVA because he's a graduate of UVA, got with his UVA buddies, and they looked up the laws. And Virginia was not only holding people back, they was punishing individuals.
Right.
For your license.
Already served their time.
Man, listen, bro. Listen, we could talk about that in a minute. We call that second sentence.
Can't go to work, can't pay child support. Can't pay child support, go back to jail.
Max on it. So one of the laws before it changed was if you owe court costs or child support, they go take your privileges away. That's what they called it, privileges. Wow. And one of the privileges was your passport and your driver's license. So they were suspending individuals' driver's license, passports, and taking it away before anybody even get released. Because as soon as you get sentenced for a drug offense, automatically 6 months suspended on your license. And in some cases, people never even had a license, Charles. So they get suspended on something they never even had, they never obtained before. So imagine them going for the first time getting their license, then it's already got a restricted on it.
Yeah.
So this was what Virginia was doing for years. And I was one of those individuals. So go back to the Tim Heafy and Walt. So Tim went back to UVA and his buddy friends and started the Found Fund. And just to help individuals that's re-entering our society, help them with an easier process, getting all these courts in line and paying it one lump sum. And I was the first loan recipient. Sometimes I got to get myself a shout out. Yeah, man. I because it was huge for me. And shout out to my mentor. We call him Deucey from the hood. You know what I mean? But Eddie Harris.
Yes,
so was the dude at Putt Putt the second?
No. He already got his stuff taken care of by that time. But he told him that was what have helped him if he would have when he would have got released. That was one of the things that would have helped him stream along. Is getting like Walt is doing very well right now. I got a family and all.
Yeah.
But that's what we did. That's how everything started. And I was the first loan recipient. That first week we got 3 loans, and I was the first one. So
that's a big time.
Working at Jiffy Lube, man, they wanted to give me $2 more, and I was like, all right, what y'all need from me? They were like, we need you to get your license, sis. So all things happen, as they should. I don't believe in no coincidences. And that was my mentor to this day. Shout out to you. I know you listening. Eddie Harris is like, listen, take a healthy risk. And go see this guy named Carl Brown over at the Found Fund.
Okay, another OG.
Yeah, another OG from the hood, from around the West, baby, coast. So you like, you already know him, you know who he is, you know what I mean? I was like, you know what? Why not? And I took that healthy risk, and I've been taking healthy risks for the last 7 years, and that's why I'm here today with you guys.
That's a blessing, man.
Taking those healthy risks, man. So shout out to Carl Brown, shout out to Deucey, Eddie Harris, man.
Love to hear it.
People's champ is what we call them.
Yeah, love to hear. Like, so what are the other services that the Fountain Fund has grown to adapt now as well? But in addition to helping ex-felons get their license back.
Yeah, no
Not
doubt.
Just that, like, how did that whole transition come about? From just helping people to get their license to all of these other things that you all help them with as well.
So two great questions. So 7 years ago, literally, it's coming up in May, our anniversary. But yes, it started with just driver's license, helping individuals get their driver's license back. And I was a lot of clients at that particular time. And I was just one of the first. And I put it out there, I put it out there to the masses, 2017. Like, listen, if you like I got a record like I have, over 18 felonies, 11 misdemeanors, it was hard for me at that particular time to try to get all that together. So I said, it's a lot of men and women like me.
Yeah.
Please take this chance. I did it. I got my license, got a better paying job. I got my raise first, then got a better paying job. And the Found Fund supported me and helped me through that process. So a lot of things happened in my life at that particular time. I lost my moms, what I mean? My life was just like a lot of unmanageability. I was depressed. I was going through a lot. It was a hard time. But I'm not going to say the Found Fund supported me and helped me through that. But it was something that I held on to.
Right.
I'm from Detroit, Michigan, so I don't have a lot of family here. So the Found Fund really brought me in. Carl and the whole team brought me in as a family. So I took that and ran with it, because I needed something to cling on to at that particular time in my juncture, and I'm happy I did. I stayed true and I stayed, true to myself this whole time, and I think it worked out for me, Charles.
I think so.
Back to your question, Max. So yes, we started just doing driver's license, and I was the first loan recipient. But over the years, other laws changed. So the law changed. So it's like, what do we do now, Tez? Like, so I'm still a client partner this time. But we still have listening sessions, right, with our client partners. That's how we know the need, what's going on in our communities. We put on listening sessions and focus groups, try to get that qualitative data from our peoples, right, to let them know, like, listen, we're here to support you, but what does support looks like for our community? Now that the license the law has been, wiped away. Shout out to our governor at that particular time helping that out. And I did a testimony at the General Assembly just to help one of those laws get passed. And once it did, I felt like, wow, this nonprofit work is dope, it's cool, but changing laws, bro.
Yeah.
So I got my beak wet a little bit, no Diddy, I got my beak wet a little bit, and then that kind of just opened my eyes up to bigger things that I wanted to do in my life, and with the Fountain Fund. And I was still a client partner, so I didn't really have that platform yet. I just had that voice, and a lot of us just didn't have voices then, period. But having the Fountain, being a client, the Fountain Fund provided that voice. So we had a group, and we talked about that. And it was other things people needed, other than just driver's license back. So that's when we started doing vehicle loans and business loans. So now we got 3 different criteria of loan products we do at the Fountain Fund now.
Okay.
It's consumer loan, and that cap out at $5K. And a consumer loan could be anything, DMV fines and fees, restitution, court fines and fees, first month's rent deposit. Do you know how much it costs to move, Charles?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's just a whole nother issue in itself. Having folks have to pay almost $4,000 just to move in. Right. So now we saw that as a need, right? And then we saw small engine repairs, because some people just can't get a vehicle loan, but they might have a vehicle they just need repairs, and they just can't afford that. So we do whatever we need to meet people where they at. That's kind of what we got from these focus groups and talking to our client partners is like, so that's $5K. So that's consumer loan, right? And we do stuff like certifications with that. People want trainings, or people go to classes, want to be peer support specialists or what have you. We don't dictate what the loan is. I'm just giving you some examples of what people came for that consumer loan. And then the next step up is our vehicle loans. Our vehicle loans cap out at $13K. But that's more of a higher impactful loan, Charles and Max. So certain things you need on your criteria. And one of them is you got to be working your job at least 6 months, right? The car can't be no more than 10 years old, which means that we're in 2024. So 2013, 14, because it's still early on. So the car can't be no more than 10 years old. Less than 150,000 miles on the vehicle. And the beauty about it, we have 3 dealership partnerships here in our local area, man, that I'm happy to announce. We got Cars of Charlottesville. Shout out to you, Clay, on RaShall Road. We got Carter Mars Automotives, Felicia Schultz, that's our point person. Shout you out, Felicia. And then we have Ford Malloy, Brandon Scott. Shout out to you, B. Brandon Scott, my man. So we got point people at all of these different locations that we have, because I never been to a dealership, Charles. So I wouldn't even know how to approach a dealership, right? So that's why it's important for us, we call it warm handoff, that our peoples can still have that same touch once they leave to somebody else. You know what I mean? We want them to have that same respect and dignity that we're giving them throughout our community partners. So I met with all these individuals, and I told them straight up, me, I'm gonna be like, listen, my folks ain't never been in no car, probably they never been in no dealership. Don't try to bamboozle them. Talk to them, ask them questions, because they're gonna have questions to ask you. And I want you to treat them the same respect you treat me. And they understood that. And now we got a 3-year partnership with all 3 of these organizations, these dealerships, and it's been going great. So what we do is we buy the vehicle, Max, because I just shouted out those 3 dealerships, right?
So the Fountain Fund holds the title.
Yes, we do. Yes, and the extra key. But this is the thing that we learned. We know everybody need a vehicle, right? And we know people go to these dealerships, right? But a lot of these dealerships are predatory lenders.
Oh yeah.
And they do it with a handshake and a smile. And they hit you with the back end of the interest that you don't even know about until you get your first payment. And they base that off your credit and your background and other things that are part of your credit building. You get what I'm saying? So they might have gave you the loan for the vehicle, but it might be 24 for you, Charles, 28 for you, Max. So it's different than how they do it, but they never tell you that straight up, right? So once we learned this, we say, okay, we know there's a need for this, so we're going to partner with you. But what we're not going to do is have our peoples go through your loan product, come through us, and then we pay it back. We buy the vehicle, and then you pay us back talking about our client partners now,
Mm.
they pay us back at a 3% interest.
Yeah.
We got the lowest in the country.
Lowest country. I feel you. So so ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to none other than Fountain Fund National Director Martize Tolbert. Delighted to have him. And we're up against the hour. We're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna get right back.
Because I got more to talk about.
I know, man. We do. We're gonna get right back with Tez, and we're gonna dig deeper. We want to hear his inspirational story as well, and also, talk about the goals there at the Fountain Fund. So how it can more benefit you, our listeners, and your family and friends, that you may have that can benefit from it. So stay tuned. IMHO Talk Show, Sir Charles Max Razor. We be right back with Fountain Fund's Martize Tolbert.
Ooh-wee.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Back like we never left. I to the Ism, H to the Izzo Talk Show. Tell your friends if they, local 101.3, any streaming app they desire. So you can hear these beautiful angelic voices on your Sunday afternoon, as you're doing what you do. And we are also right now, tuned in with our brother Martize Tolbert. So that's another reason why you want to be listening right now, because the good work that Tez has been doing with the Fountain Fund, building that up and helping our brothers and sisters is something awesome, and that we're glad that we can share with y'all. So we left off at the at the end of the last segment talking to Tez about their offerings. And so you went through the loan program. So maybe Tez, just like name those ones that you named again, and then you said that there was one more, right?
Yeah. So we got the consumer loan. Thank you, Charles. Got a consumer loan that cap out at $5K. And we have the vehicle loans that cap out at $13K. And then last but not least is the entrepreneur loans. We do business loans as well, startup and existing businesses, and that cap out at $15K. So it's certain things we know that folks coming home these days, they don't want to just work at fast food, Jiffy Lube, construction no more. Yeah. These gentlemen and ladies want to start their own business, right? And they behind that wall and thinking about it, writing it down, rapping about it, writing about it, praying over it, and really not knowing where to go when they get out, right? So that's what we do here at the Fountain Fund, is we help out with that population of folks, and try to make those dreams come alive. We lend in hope and opportunity, not just money, at the Fountain Fund. So when folks come to us and they got a business plan, or sometimes they don't even have a business plan, they just have a hell of an idea, right? And they got the gumptions and the temperament to go through it, right? So what we do is,
where it starts.
we can just develop you, we can help you and support you, but the main thing, we don't have the infrastructure to support business startups when they don't have nothing. So we have partnerships. So shout out to New Hill Development.
That's what you need.
Shout out to the Queen, Yolanda.
Yeah.
She was just at the office the other day. So it's a beautiful thing. And CIC is one of our other strong partners. And Awana, Shannon, and all the folks over there. So these are the things that we do. So we know at the Fountain Fund, and we smart enough to know we don't know, right?
Yeah.
So since we don't have that infrastructure, and we know it still is a population of folks that want this, we go through partners and community partners that we can flood them through there. And then when they graduate, boom, 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 refer them back to us. That's kind of that warm hand of I was telling you earlier about.
So other than the auto loans, is this money in hand, cash in hand, check in hand, or are you all paying for, are you all paying whatever it is, the bill, the individual directly, and then so the money doesn't actually cross the hands of the person who's requesting the loan?
No. Okay. All money goes to the vendor. So if it's for DMV, it go to DMV. If it's for insurance, one of our partners is Able Insurance. Shout out to Billy White at Able Insurance. We cut the check to Able Insurance. All money goes to the vendor, Max. That's something that we started at the beginning
Smart.
with the fund, and now we do that across all our expansion cities as well too.
Gotcha.
So everything get cuts to the vendor. And not only that, just talk more about the loan products. We report to all 3 creditors now over the last 4 years. Since COVID happened, we understood what credit is and what our credit building is, so folks. So now, just by you making payments back to the fund, the first 3 months, your credit score is going to start to increase.
Man, look at that.
So that's another thing, the component that we're trying to do, and teach financial education and financial management on the front end, not the back end, because there's no sense teaching you that once you get the check. So we teach you that on the front end and what that looks like, right? With all different types of platforms that we support our folks in learning that, because that's not something that was taught to me in school or growing up. Was about finances or interest or literacy or money. Being from the streets, I just knew about coming in and going out. That's all I really knew about money, and I saw my mom's every month, stealing from Peter to pay Paul, and that was something I was like, I'd never be, one of myself in that situation, that my mother saw her go through every day. So those are the type of folks I want to support, because I saw what that did to my moms, every month. So.
I feel you there, man. You had something, Max?
Yeah, I was just going to ask about the eligibility process and who qualifies for one of these loans.
Yeah, so that changed when I got there 4 years ago. It was just felonies for some odd reason. They just had it just for felonies. So when I started as a staffer 4 years ago, I was like, nah, we got to change that because of my lived experience. It goes deeper than just having a felony. Once I realized a lot of women don't necessarily go to prison or jail, but they get charged. So I told them, I said, listen, we can't just say formerly incarcerated, because a lot of folks, a lot of female demographic don't go to jail because they got kids, they got jobs, they got whatever have you. They might get ankle monitor, they might get probation or whatever, but they don't actually go to jail or be incarcerated, Charles. So, Max. So it's when I got there, so now it's formerly incarcerated or have a record. And then it doesn't matter if it's a misdemeanor or a felony, because that's all under the criminal justice umbrella. And that's one of the things I expanded once I got there, because like I said, we were just doing felonies. So now even traffic tickets, you get a reckless driving, that's a misdemeanor. A lot of folks don't even know that they can come to the fountain fund because of that, but that actually is a charge on your record. It's a misdemeanor charge. So anything from misdemeanors to felonies, that's what we do. You can even spend a night in jail and get released the next day, and you can still qualify for the fund. So as long as we can track it and verify it, that's one of the criteria. And the next, and have the ability to pay the loan back. And that could be anything from a part-time job, full-time job, or fixed income. That population of folks, we definitely wanted to tackle individuals that's on fixed income as well too, because they still have goals and needs and things that they want to do as well too. So that's another population of folks. So we don't discriminate how nobody get their coins. We just got to verify it. We got clients that work under the table, work for their uncle or their granddad or the neighborhood janitor or mechanic. Long as they can write that on the letterhead and state what they do and how much money they make. It's all different types of portals that we do and help our, like I said, we meet people where they at, Max, on some real talk. And on the last key piece is elevation. How is this loan going to elevate you in your current status? Right. So those are the 3 criteria. So what I mean by elevation, if it's for your driver's license, that's clear cut. That's elevation. That's freedom. That's mobility. That's independence. If it's for first month's rent deposit, that's housing. That's elevation. So you get where I'm going. So that it has to have an elevation piece tied to it, because our goal is to change somebody's lives every 2 weeks. And our LRC, which is our loan review committee, we meet every 2 weeks and we vote on these loans all across all our expansion markets as well. So every 2 weeks, when people get approved for a loan, we're changing lives.
On average, how many loans do you issue a month?
So now that we expanded, when it was just us in our little bubble here in Charlottesville, we was doing like 10 a month. But now that we in all these other different markets, it can range from 15 to 20 a month. It's just depending on what's going on at that particular time and current in our different markets. But these are the loans every 2 weeks that we have. And right now, I think we had over 500 loans to date, and 2.4, I think the numbers just came in, $2.4 million already just been dispersed in loans over the last 7 years. And we already got 1.4 that already recouped back in. So it works. You get what I'm saying? Like it works.
And so is the office replicated in these other cities? You know, sort of the size office you have here. Are you replicating that, or what does it look like in other cities?
So we decided to go in partnership, Charles. So we're thinking about doing a replicate, you know, in brick and mortar down the line, but to go big and go fast, and like we did, we thought it'd be smarter and strategically to do it in partnerships.
Okay.
So when we go to a city, actually when we get invited to a city, so that's another approach that we're going. We getting invited to cities now. We're not just going to somebody's city on their block. We're getting invited. And shout out to Green Light Fund. Green Light Fund is the one who's been supporting us the last 2 expansion cities, and they got over 15 other expansion cities that they want us in. So, and then what they do is they invite a nonprofit into their city that's not already in their city. So they go outside. It's a very unique, very unique type of funder, and they just happen to be, you know, meet another very unique type of nonprofit. So our synergy was there from the get-go, because what they do is go scatter the country and look for what's not in their city and bring it back to their city. So they invited us to Philly. That's why we launched in Philly, and now Boston, which is their flagship. So that's a big, big honor to be invited to not only a city of theirs, but their flagship city. So I'm excited about them as a funder and a partner with us. You know what I mean? So that's kind of been our motto, is being invited in, and we do it in partnership. You know,
I have a question.
Have the wraparound holistic services in each partnership city that we in.
Got you. Razor.
What up, big dog? I've been waiting on you. I've been waiting to hear your voice. What's up?
Hey, you've been doing a great job, man. The interview is going excellent.
You're on my toes, baby.
Yeah, proud of all 3 of y'all, man. Hey, I do have a question though. When people come to the Fountain Fund and they're looking to receive assistance, what is the work that the client partners need to be prepared to put in order to get the most benefit out of using the Fountain Fund?
Yeah, we don't do all the work for you. You know, that's the great question. If they're not ready, and a lot of folks are not ready for the Fountain Fund, Max and Charles, you know, we help a lot of folks. Like I just mentioned, every 2 weeks our LRC meets, and we support a lot of folks. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna pause on your question just a minute, Troy, because I want them to understand, because you know this. When our clients get approved for a loan, they tell everybody, bro. They go back in their family, tell their family, their wife, their kids, their neighbors, their aunts, their grandmama. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we got a website. Our biggest advocates, our biggest supporter that bring people in is our clients.
Word of mouth.
Because that's what we're doing, and that's the effect that we're having. Like, it's electrifying when we get calls the next day thanking us, you know. And I don't know traditional banks. I don't know if they get those calls, but we get these calls after we support somebody getting the loan, right? So back to you, Troy. So you got to put as much sweat equity or much work in this as much as we're going to do, because we're supporting you, and we're helping you through the whole application process, from the beginning, meeting with me, through our underwriters, you know, meeting with Paul and the team of the underwriters who's getting your story captured so they can be presented in front of the LRC, which is the Loan Review Committee. It takes a lot of work and honesty. So a client partner got to be ready to go. And some are not ready to go. But this, back to Troy with your question, even when they're not Charles and Max, I develop them. So I have a development list, a part of the Fountain Fund. So when they're not ready, I help them get ready. And that's where the community holistic wraparound services come in at, and my community partners come in at, because they might have a job, but they only making so many hours, right? Or they might even have a job at all, but they're getting fixed income coming in, but they would like to work. So I have different partnerships that I can connect them with to get them fully ready to be referred, like I said, that warm handoff back to me, back to the Fountain Fund. So back to your question, Troy, you know, they got to be ready to do the work. They got to be ready to look at themselves in the mirror, you know what I mean? Because we're gonna look inside to see what your credit score is looking like, what your credit reporting is looking like. We're gonna do a criminal pull on you. So these are the things that goes into our application. So these are questions that you might not even been asked in a while, right? These are things you probably never seen before. You know, we do something called a budget and review, Max, when we look at how much money you make a month to how much money you spend a month. Because at the end of it, the breakdown of it, we don't touch your bill money. We go after the money that's left over. Banks don't do that.
Yeah. I feel like one of the misconceptions in the community is that I qualify for this loan if I've been in trouble. Like that's the qualifying thing. Well, shoot, let me go sign up then, because I didn't spend some time in jail, or, you know, been arrested or what have you. And I think that a lot of people oftentimes walk away disappointed when they find out that it's not just that, you know, you guys, you know, aren't maybe not doing what you say you're really doing, because I'm here, I've been in trouble, and you're telling me, no, I still don't qualify for it. And in true transparency, I have been in trouble before. back when I was about 19 years old. I think my inspection sticker was dead, and I kept driving and got pulled over for it, and got a ticket and went to court and didn't pay the ticket and kept driving and got pulled over for it and went to court and got in trouble and went back a total of 3 times. Don't ask. I was raised better than this and knew better than this, but went back a total of 3 times. Last time I went in, judge said, if you come back in front of me, I am sending you to jail. All over like a dead inspection sticker, car inspection sticker. I went back and he gave me like 20 days. And I did several weekends in jail. And so, yeah, it was all bad, but it taught me a lesson. But I say all that to say that a while back, because I knew the Fountain Fund gave loans for people that got in trouble and was upside down in something, I said, hey, I'm gonna fill out this application and get this loan right quick and fix this little problem. And I did not qualify. And it threw me for a loop because I didn't do my research and understand that there was more to it than just I've been in trouble, right? And I think that's a misconception in the community, and I'm glad that you're here and kind of clearing up that there's so much more that goes into it, because I'm sure y'all get some rah-rahs in the office who are like, "What you mean?" But they told me that if I've been to jail, I can get this money from you. So do you deal with that often?
No, not since I've been there.
Yeah,
because
you don't deal with people who just think because I've been in trouble, I should qualify for this loan.
Well, yes, I deal with that a lot, actually. But we do a lot of that on the front end. So we clean that up on that front end. So I had those dynamic, transparent conversations with them over the phone. Because a lot of folks know me because I'm from this community, right? And I've been to penitentiary, right? And I worked here, right? And I play football here. So people know me from a lot of different, portals and platforms and whatever. So they call me or they hit me up on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. So we had these conversations first because I don't want to lead nobody on down the line or even bring them through, right? So I let them know straight up if they qualify. What's up? What you need? What you got going on? This is what I got going on. Says, listen, I'm working, but I'm not working. I'm inconsistent, but I said, listen, let me help you get that. Because I'm all about getting to that yes. How can I get you to be qualified to even come in and meet with me? So that's what that come in there early. What I told you, Max, that development. I developed them to get them ready. I'm like, look, you're not ready for the Fountain Fund right now.
Are people inclined to go through that process? Or are they like, it ain't easy as I thought it was? Goodbye.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have no idea. Listen, the calls, the inquiries, we just tallied up the inquiries that come through our webpage. I think we get close to 30 a week. Of inquiries coming in, and that's not even phone calls or walk-ins or people who just hitting us up on the emails. So everybody is trying to get this. I just got a letter from an institution in Kansas City. They heard about us out there, so it's all over. I get a lot of jail mail. I get a lot of prison mail. I get a lot of calls from family members who got folks that's about to get out, and they reach out to me. So I don't know the circumstances when you went through that, but I don't know if I was in that front seat or not, but I have a different approach when I'm in that driver's seat because I'm now the national director, but I'm also the local director. So I'm the one in the front seat of the Fountain Fund right now. So people call and meet with me and then I direct them to the services that we have if they don't fit the criteria after I talk with them. Right. And then they come back when they're ready or when they feel that they deem that they're ready. So I always put it on the client, to let me know when you're ready, but I'm gonna give it to you. But let me know when you're ready to come back in. So I deal with a lot of individuals that even if they get denied, because that did happen a few times, and they like, look, Tess, I got denied, but my cousin, you gave her a car.
Right.
I get that a lot, Max, and Charles, and Raisin. You know what I'm talking about. Because your cousin was ready, you wasn't.
Yeah,
and we told you some things to work on, and you might have did some things, but not everything we asked you to work on. So it's case by case with us. But that's why I wanted to get back into that driver's seat to show our community what it looks like, because not everybody thinks they know it until they talk to us, and they're like, I got a better sense of it now, Tez. I got a better understanding of it now, Tez. I didn't understand at first because all I saw was, she got a felony, she got a car. And she's telling everybody she got a car from the Fountain Fund. And I'm like, yeah, because she qualified. She did the work that we asked her to do to get there. So these are the things that we have. And the folks do get upset, but guess what, Max?
Yeah,
they come back.
Now, being a man of the community and wanting to help, how do you then direct those who the Fountain Fund can't help because of the qualifications? But like with that, what are some of your goals for the Fountain Fund to have a broader reach?
Yeah, so I'm gonna tap on the latter question. I want to expand deeper and more in our state. I think Northern Virginia, I think Tidewater, Hampton Roads, and the Lynchburg area, they need to have the same access to capital as Central Virginia, Central Charlottesville as well too. So that's my goal, and that's something that I'm currently working on right now as being the local director as well, is expanding our reach, because we go an hour in each direction.
Okay.
So we go let me just throw that out there. We go as far as west as Harrisonburg, Edinburgh. We go as far as north as Culpeper, Orange. We do Richmond. We even do Fredericksburg. So we hit a lot of different areas. And I live in Waynesboro now, so that's not an area that we go to. It's an area that we go to, but a lot of folks don't know about us over there, right? My whole thing this year is tapping into the Valley and bringing that in. And I'm doing my first reentry fair April 16th. In Waynesboro. So if you're from the Valley or the Waynesboro stand area, please tap in with me. Check me out on Facebook, Maine to Madison, or IG, Maine to Madison. I'll give you all information. We're gonna have a hiring exposition there. I'm gonna be there. Augusta Health will be there. Network to Work will be there. We got a lot of different community partners from that Valley area that I'm trying to tap into that will be there. So I'm trying to expand the Fountain Fund footprint and catchment area to go more in-state, just because if I can get more client partners in the state, I can help out with changing those laws, like I was mentioning earlier, Max, because if we get more clients, we can really tap into the General Assembly here, and we can I'm meeting one of the delegates, the local delegate, Creed D, soon. He's coming to one of our events, so I'm looking forward to meeting him as well to talk about that.
Yeah, shout out to Creed.
So Tez, if I get a loan, am I able to come back and get an additional loan, or is it just one loan and I'm done?
Oh no. You can get. So I work at the Fountain Fund and I got 3 loans. So that's letting you know that we lock in with you. I tell folks when they come to see me is, listen, we ain't here for the long haul. We're not a one and done organization. Part of our application portal and process is to list your top 3 immediate goals. The first one going to be whatever it is you're coming for, the driver's license. And then the next one could be a house. You might want a house after that. And the next one could be a business. So once you come to the Fountain Fund and you get the payments paid back to us, you come back for that second loan.
Are people disciplined in terms of paying those loans back?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have individuals, as soon as they pay off their loan, they worried about, all right, I'm ready for the next step, Tez. Or where am I at on my payments? I get calls every week. Where am I at my payments? Give me my principal balance, Tez, because I got my taxes. I'm gonna get y'all wipe y'all off, and I'm gonna come back for that second loan. And that's what we're here to support you in that. And even if it is, and it's not just when you're doing good, because we know life is life.
Yeah.
We know life is life, right? And it's non-linear, so it goes up and it falls off. So they might be posturing and looking good when they come see us, right? But then 6 months later, they lose their job or their girlfriend kick them out.
Yeah.
But building that relationship with them on that front end, Charles and Max, they can call me like, Tez, man, I'm going through it, bro. This is what I'm dealing with. I ain't working. I don't even have a place to stay. I said, come in to see me tomorrow. Let's talk. And what I can do is I can pause your payments for up to 90 days. So it won't affect your credit score. And I could tap in with any type of housing portals that I do have, far as the Salvation Army, far as the Haven, far as Patcham, or I got private landlords that I can possibly put you in touch with. So these are the different things and portals that come in. As I see the need of folks coming to see me, I'm trying to go out there and find the support for these folks. So that's kind of what I do because of my lived experience. I know what they're dealing with, and I know what they're under, the pressure that it is to be the head of the household and don't even know what the next meal gonna come from, or the next, what I'm gonna look like living the next month when I got to deal with day-to-day stuff. I've been there. My mom's has been there. My friends have been there. Like I told you, I'm really attached to this community, so they tap in with me. Like Tez, you seen what just happened to my baby daddy? He just got locked up on the news. I'm like, I already know. Let me know what the kids need. I got you. Like I get these calls daily.
Hey, speaking of the community,
it's just because that's how connected we are to our community, man. The Fountain Fund is yes, sir.
Speaking of the community, I was at the Jefferson one day, and they had something called the One-Stop Shop. What is that?
Ooh, Charles, we got time.
So Ray, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna jump right into that because we want to talk about that motto.
Yeah,
that community work is the best work,
and we out here working.
We want to talk about that, but also the inspiration of your personal story too.
No doubt.
I think and I think people will understand the importance of the community. But Max, are you good with the break, or you want to wrap up with this?
No, I'm good. Let's take a break.
All right. So we'll be right back. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor, I am HO, none other than Fountain Fun National Director, Mr. Martize Tolbert.
Let's go.
Back.
I am HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
I am HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
I am HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
I am HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
I am HO Talk Show.
I am HO Talk Show, Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor. One more again in the booth in the building with National Director at the Fountain Fund, Martize Tolbert. As you've been hearing, the brothers doing big work, amazing things, amazing things. So as you know, Razor teased, and we're gonna get right into it. People who know Tez or Maine to Madison, or however you may know the homie, there's a motto that he has that he pretty much hashtags with everything. Community work is the best work. Did I get that right?
Community work is the best work, and we out here working. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Community work is the best work.
Yeah.
So Razor mentioned the pop-up shops that has
Yeah.
happened. I'm sure people have seen those, even if they may not have been able to patron them. So talk about that, but not just that, but the importance of community in general, because the work that the Fountain Fund does through things like such as a pop-up shop that goes outside of the direct demographic and target audience of Fountain Fund loans. So talk about the community work side beyond the Fountain Fund offices.
So no doubt, it's huge for me. It's passion driven. It's passion work, you know, and that's what I love to do. That's why it's community work is the best work, because this is what I went through. This is what, you know, my God and my higher power built me, you know, to go through, to be on this other side, you know. So I always tell folks, it's not about me no more. It's about we, you know, it's about me pulling my brothers and sisters up, you know, and being that face. If I got to be the one that's going to step out there, oh, well, let's do it. Right. So when I got into the Found Fund as a staff, I came in as a client partner, but 3 years later, I became a staff client partner navigator. And then 2020 hit, COVID hit literally a month after I got hired. So I had the time to try to figure out, you know, my approach and what I wanted to bring and my energies and passions and what I saw my folks hurting. And I thought about all these different ideas that I wanted to bring to the Found Fund. And with COVID happening, it kind of gave me that bandwidth, you know what I'm saying? Charles kind of gave me that autonomy to go out there and do it. And my staff and my team at the particular time, shout out to Erica Vasilio and Paul Yates, you know, they was like, look, Taz, you know, we brought you on because of this. Your lived experiences, we don't have that. I'm in banking for 30 years. Erica's been a nonprofit for 25 years. You know, we don't have the person with lived experience until now, to you. So we're kind of banking on your, you know, I mean, your intellectual property to give us what we need to move forward. So that's what I brought in, and COVID gave me that space. So that's when I brought in, you know, my community work is the best work model, and I wanted to try to help folks the best I could, you know, with the opportunity the Found Fund gave me. So after we did the Wall Street Journal story, shout out to you, Troy, me and Troy, after we did the Wall Street Journal, my first year there, it gave me more opportunities to do more. And that's when I talked about earlier, the deferrals. We can defer your loan. If you're not in good standing, we can get you back in compliance by a deferral program. These are some of the things that we brought in to support our client partners, because we wanted them to continue building their credit. But we understand life happens. So if something happens to them, as long as they communicate with me, communicate with us, we can get them back on their feet. We call it Build Back Better, you know, to support them in that, right? So these are some of the things that we brought on during COVID. But then we realized after COVID, then what, you know? So these are some of the things we asked our clients, like in these focus groups, listening sessions, what is the need? And they like, look, Tez, it's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of things out there that y'all just don't know that's happening. I'm like, all right, let me know. And that's when I heard about child support. And on both ends, men and women, you know, what they're dealing with, right? So we did a listening session with shout out to ex-delegate Sally Husson. We did a huge forum, and Razor, you was there, a huge forum with that to try to help and change some of the laws that was coming around about that, right? So that's when we got into the policy changing and started working with community voices out of Richmond and TCI, the Commonwealth Institute, to help uplift our client partners' voices, so now they can go to the General Assembly and testify and give their lived experience and testimony to help shape and change some of these laws so they won't be so impactful for the next generation coming behind them. So this is stuff that all happens as the Found Fund was growing and going, and it's still growing and going. So one of the ideas that I always had in my mind was I first called it the resource hub. Like, why is it not a centralized location for folks to just go to other than probation and parole? Like, why I got to go to see my PO if I want to ask or access any other type of services, right? That was the only option that folks had, right? So in my mind, I wanted to create something for everybody that's been a reentry, not just coming home, but the folks that's already been home, kind of like you, Max, that's somebody that's already been out here can still get access to certain type of other services that just don't even know that they exist. Because let's just be honest, COVID kind of, siloed us, right? And kind of displaced us a little bit. So with the one stop came to my mind, and I'm on a board of the ACRJ, right? I'm on a steering committee. So one of their ideas was like, look, Tess, because of your lived experience, let us know how we gonna help this influx of folks getting out. So I just said, why not a one stop? They were like, what is that? I was like, a one-stop shop where everybody can come at one place to get all the services at one time. They were like, what does that look like? I said, well, sit back, strap in, and I can tell you. And so that's where the whole creation started. And in July this year, it'll be 2 years up and running.
That's dope.
Just imagine, guys, if you got friends and family that's getting released, to your community, right? You want to support them, right? You want to give them everything they need to be supported and what that looks like. But they still got to deal with this and that and go here and go there, go see OPO, go see OAR, go here. But what if you live in a rural area like Fluvanna or Louisa, when you don't have a car, you don't have a license, you don't have the support with transportation. So how are you supposed to get to these places? So that's where the One Stop came in. So the One Stop is a centralized location where all of these services in one building at one time. It's kind of like
such as services, like specifically.
So I call it like the mall of reentry, Max. So everybody been on mall, right? You know, you got Foot Locker, Foot Action, you got JCPenney's. So why not having the same thing for reentry? So when folks come to my One Stop, I got a registration table, my action team sitting there. I got an intern now. I got a website. Shout out, shameless plug. Shout out to our website, onestopcville.org. Check us out. And we got a Facebook page, One Stop Facebook Cville. So check us out on that. But just imagine you come into this one area with everything there. I have DMV. I have Common Ground. I have Region 10. I have OAR. I had Network to Work. I have PVCC. I have UVA decarceration department. So individuals trying to get their rights back or rights restored, I got free lawyers on deck because they're students in their third year and this is what they do and this is what they need. So I'm leveraging UVA partnership that I have with them is to bring in some of your students that need that experience anyway and partner with some of our folks who need this advice anyway. So let's make that synergy and let's make that connection. So that's one of the things that I brought in. So now I have them. I have Martha Jefferson Centera, right? I have UVA Pipelines and Pathways. So when folks looking to get a job, right? A career-based job, not just an old basic job, they can come through Pipeline and Pathways. Shout out to Holly Lee. Shout out to everybody over there in UVA Pipeline and Pathways where they can come in and get a job with Pipeline and have a trajectory to go up in advancements. Because a lot of people that work at UVA know it's certain ceilings that you reach at UVA. So with UVA Pipelines, it is not only opening up a pipeline in, but a pathway up. So I partnered with them folks to come in, and we got Common Ground there. So if individuals need a massage, acupuncture. I had an elderly lady come to the last One Stop because she's dealing with rheumatoid. Don't get me to mess up this word. Rheumatoid arthritis, and she came in just to get some acupuncture done and some massages done. So we do this for that wellness and that healing coalition, and we do it as a vibe. Charles and Max, y'all gotta matter of fact, y'all gotta pull up on me, man, because I got my man DJ Runaway. Shout out to Nicholas Vegas, the Boys and Girls Club. I got DJ Runaway as my DJ. He's been there almost 2 years with me because I wanted to be a vibe. So we got him playing old school music from back in the day. So you get to come through, get your bop on. You know what I mean? And we got a caterers. I always support my black and brown caterers. So we didn't have people from Blackjacks. We didn't have Chef Brown. We didn't have my man D Grand and Courtney Moppin. Excuse me. So we got a lot of different caterers that we use every One Stop. We got them in rotation. So we support our folks and we support our community by putting on. So it's really a vibe, man. So we really a welcoming vibe with all these different services. I mean, I got SNAP benefits. I got the city there. I got the county of human services there. I got everybody there, bro. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing. And people always ask me, Tez, how in the hell did you get all these services in one room, one building, and they're here on time? I said, because I treat people like people. I just asked and they came.
And not just that, your lived experiences is the academics, you know, the school of life is what helps to inform those decisions. You know what people need because you've been in their situation before.
Absolutely. Can't never discredit those things that we all went through, right? All of us got something to pay back and give back because of what they've been through. My mentor teach me that, Lorenzo Collins. He said, Ted, you got to grow through what you go through. Man, I had to scratch my head. I said, say that again, bro. Say it slow. He said, you got to grow through what you go through. Because everybody gonna go through stuff. But if you're not growing and learning, you're gonna do it again. You're gonna do it again.
That's fact.
And you're gonna do it again. So once he instilled that in me, I learned how to show up every day like an audition, right? Because I got to learn from my past mistakes, so I won't be able to do that again, and I can help somebody else not navigate those same roads I did. So that's kind of why I created the One Stop, so I can show folks by showing folks this is how we putting on for us, man. And I do that with the Fun. I do that with all my ACRJ folks and my subcommittee folks. Shout out to Gary from over the OAR. Shout out to Region 10. Shout out to everybody that's been a part of the One Stop since the beginning. And we just growing and going at this point, Max and Charles.
How often do you hold the One Stops?
So there was monthly, now they're bi-monthly. Okay. So the next one, we're doing it big at the John Paul Jones. We're partnering up with UVA and UVA Equity Center. In the daytime, they're going to have it for the seniors. So the seniors about to graduate, seniors of high school. And in the afternoon from 1 to 4, they're going to open it up for the community. community. So we're gonna have a lot of different service providers at John Paul Jones. Check us out, shout us out again. Holly Lee. Yeah, man. Like UVA, let's go. You know what I mean? Big staple in our community. You know, they got the money, and let's just be real. You know, we hold them accountable because as we should, you know. So now they're part of the team and they're at the table as well. So we got the one stop for senior citizens coming up as well too in April. There's just a lot of things, great things happening in the month of April. So shout out to April 23rd from 10 to 1. If you got high school seniors that's looking for employment, looking for the next step, what they're trying to graduate and see what college ain't for everybody, Max and Charles. That's facts. So they might want to get into other different things. So all of these, and right now I think it's 30 to 40 some service providers already signed up. So that's a lot already at John Paul Jones. And then we have community service providers that's going to show up in the afternoon. So this is going to be a big, huge community day. So please pull up April 23rd, John Paul Jones, man, 10 to 1 for the seniors, high school seniors, and 1 to 4 for community members.
I got a question for you.
Fly with us.
No doubt. Yeah. I will. No doubt.
I got a question for you. I know your work that you do when it comes to recidivism. What is the work that you're doing with the Tom Festival?
Ooh, man, April is huge. So I'm not going to sleep in April. I got 3 events I'm already locked in for, plus 2 more that's pending. But each year, the Tom Festival put on the downtown mall for 5 days from the 17th this year, from the 17th to the 21st. And 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Paul Byers, the founder of Tom, reached out to me. He wanted to have a conversation with me about diversifying, the Tom. And I told him I was a little reluctant at first. Like, look, bro, I don't know too much about it. And then when I did go back in 2018, it wasn't a good experience for me. So I don't really, listen, that's what I'm trying to change, Tez. If you give me the opportunity to meet with you, let's meet. I said, all right, meet me at a black restaurant. He's like, which one? I said, see, how many do you know? So I told him, meet me at Matchbox right there on Stonefield.
Right.
And we did. We sat there for, it supposed to have been a 30-minute meeting. Why not meeting with that man for over 2.5 hours? I mean, it was a lot of conversation we had, and I held him accountable. He asked me some questions. It was a pull and take type of conversation. But at the end of that, and we had multiple conversations after that. I signed up to be a part of the Tom Advisory Committee just to help them diversify. So that's kind of where the creation of the Block Party came in. So that's kind of what we do with the Tom Festival. I'm one of the spearheads of the Block Party, and now I got DJ Flatline, shout out to you, Reggie, and I got DJ W, my man Devin. So they helped me out with bringing in the artists, streamlining the sounds, all the different other vendors that we're gonna have this year. This year is gonna be big and huge, Raise. I'm glad you brought it up. Shout out to the Tom, shout out to the city this year, because they're giving us the whole mall this year. Usually it was from the Omni into 4th Street. Now we got the Omni all the way to the Pavilion. Really? And we're going to kick off Friday after 5, starting doing the Tom. So we try to integrate our community now, because the first couple of years it was a lot of people in the downtown mall kind of scaring the hell out the police force because they never seen that many people. Our first one, I think we had over $12,000 foot traffic on the downtown mall with only a handful of officers. So they was really cautious about that. Then last year we did it. We had 22,000 footprint. So they realized, like, wow, this really changing the game of what this can look like in our area. And it's so diversified. I don't know if you guys been to the one last year, but you had Black, Brown, Chinese, Mexicans. I mean, you had every nationality. Hell, there was a wedding at the Omni. They left their wedding and walked through the downtown Block Party and party with us. It's all on foot. Hey, look, so that's if you in Charlottesville, or if you're not in Charlottesville, come to Charlottesville April 17th to the 21st. But the Block Party, downtown Block Party, will be facilitated by me and a couple other guys that I just mentioned, Reggie and Devin. April 19th from 5 to 10, and that's nothing they did, Max. They gave us an extra hour. So the city is really showing up this year. They're giving us the whole mall, and they gave us an extra hour, to entertain and to really give back to the community. And we got the D&D dance team, Empire, man. We got some local artists. Can't tell you all of them. We got some local artists and local talent. And this year we reached out to Richmond. So we even got some artists and some vendors coming down from Richmond. So we opened it up a little bit wider, and on 2nd Street, we're doing something new this year we never done. We're gonna have vendors set up on east side of 2nd Street now, on Black vendors as well, BIPOC vendors. So we got a lot of different folks. Shout them out. Shout out Order Up. So he'll be out there as well too. So just want to throw that out there. So no, we got some things bubbling and going this year, man. It's gonna be dope, man. It's gonna be. We just putting on, and each year just trying to get better for our community. And that's some of the things I told Paul Byer, the founder, is like, look, it's not just folks who just come in and they showcase their talents, and then you don't support them throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
You got to support folks all year.
Big, yeah.
And that's something that he signed up for when I came being a part of the Tom Town. And now being a board member of Tom Town, I hold him accountable. I don't know if you noticed the name. It's not, the Thomas Jefferson theme anymore.
Yeah.
It's Tomorrow's Tomorrow. So I asked, that was one of the things that I requested. I was like, yo, we got to change that name. I know your birthday and Thomas Jefferson's birthday was like a day or two apart, and that might've been a good idea at that particular time, but there's a lot of history and a lot of pain and a lot of trauma that's associated with that. So that's why you really get a lot of folks that look like me attending your festival, so if you really want to diversify, it's some of the things I'm gonna ask for, and that was one of the things. And he changed it to Tomorrow's Tomorrow. And I don't know if you noticed, it's more inclusive now with the Tom Tom. Now we support everything that's in our city, up and out, not bringing everything out to in, because that's what he was doing before, was bringing a lot of outside folks, speakers, Hillary Clinton, all these big name people all over the world was coming to Charlottesville and then taking our resources and leaving. So that model changed now. So it's all about now inclusive and togetherness. So that's the theme this year.
Got you. We are joined by Martize Tolbert. Learning so much, man. I mean, no wonder you ain't been up here yet, because you got too much going on.
I'm working,
man.
baby. I'm out here. Let's do it.
Nah, but that just makes us feel that much more important. But man, like, even though the show was winding down, man,
I'm going to come back. You can bring me back.
For sure. And you know how to reach all three of us. So you just hit us up, let us know. But man, but we would be so remiss if we didn't give even more inspiration. Because I get that you have, set up an institution that's meant to help so many. But I can just imagine that if you can prevent people from ever needing that help, that may do your heart even better, right?
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind, share the story that led you up to even needing the services from a fountain fund. And just like what you've learned, like you said, like that lived experience, that you're drawing from every day now.
Ooh, you're really getting deep now. So it's a lot to that story. And the people that know. But I'll give folks a little bit of my lived experience coming to Charlottesville from Detroit, Michigan. I came in the mid 90s, early 90s, loved the city, loved the people. Grew up right here on A12C Hardy Drive. Shout out to the coast. That's how I know Eddie Harris and Carl Brown and individuals like that. These are the people that I saw every day. Brought some of my antics with me from Detroit. And earned myself 6 years. First time ever getting in trouble. The judge looked in my face, as a 19-year-old, and he basically chastised me and told me, "You're not from here. You standing in my courtroom with two lawyers. I don't know who you are, but you're not going to sell drugs in my community," and gave me a mandatory sentence of 5 years and gave me an additional extra year because of my drug offense. So never been in trouble a day in my life, never had a misdemeanor before then, and earned myself 6 years. So instead of me going to college or trade school or everything else that I was slated to do, because I had paperwork and everything, trying to go to Eastern Michigan State and everything, he saw all of that and decided to punish me instead of heal me. And earn myself 6 years. So that started my trajectory of a lot, brother. You know what I mean? Because something that I earned myself here in Virginia would have been a slap on the wrist in Detroit. Being a first-time offender, what I mean? Or even been into a diversion program. None of that was offered to me. And I had lawyers and everything, bro. But he didn't look at me as that. So I come from that, bro. I come from that pain that a lot of my peoples went through standing in front of that courtroom. Even with representation, I still was looked down upon. And judged off some things that, like I said, it was a mistake. And I'm still paying for that mistake today. So that what led me to my lived experiences and my, going down the road, instead of going to college or getting some type of other education. I got that street education and I got that other knowledge. You get what I'm saying? So it was hard. It wasn't an easy road, being away from my family and friends and loved ones for 6 years, bro, and never been incarcerated a day in my life before. No juvenile, none of that. So it was a lot, and I still read that pain to this day. But that pain now was my shield. And now I could be able to protect myself by protecting others and let them know that I'm here with you, establishing that mutuality and that respect, and let them know, like, listen, you did that, right? But that's not defining who you are today. That's something you did in your past. That's not who you are today. So that's what I'm all about. Redemption, building back better, and supporting folks that's ready to be supported. And I can go a little bit deeper into everything else that happened in my life, man. But me losing my mom's was my rock bottom. So that was my change, Charles. So how did I transition from that to this? It was because of I lost my first love.
Right.
You know, I lost my architect. You know, I lost my heart. I lost everything. You know, when I lost my mother unexpectedly, and it's still hard to this day to even talk about. You know that I'm a mama's boy, true and true. You know, she taught me everything. You know, she's my lawyer, my doctor.
Right.
You know, she was everything. In a Black community, you don't have all those different privileges like a lawyer and a doctor and that. So my mother was all that to me, right? Yeah. So to lose her was losing everything, and she saw the world in me growing up.
Yeah.
Her and my grandmother raised me, so they always saw greatness in me. I mean, greatness, you know, he gonna be this, he gonna be that. I mean, I'm looking like, what? Like, I'm in Detroit, I'm poor. I'm like, nope, boy, you're gonna be this. You know, don't ever look down on yourself. Like, that's how I come from that stock. You get what I'm saying? So
speaking in existence.
when she passed, I put all those childish games away.
Yeah.
And that's when I started working at Jiffy Lube. Like, I'd rather bust my butt for $8 an hour than looking over my shoulder every night trying to sell some drugs, bro. And that was my transition. My mother was my transition from doing what I need to do. And I think I told you earlier, I think I did all right.
Yeah.
I think I made a great choice. All right. So now I want to help navigate other folks because they don't know. They don't always see that light. Even when they switch over, that's a hard switch over.
Yeah.
When you've been doing something for so long, you know, it's hard to make that change and make it consistent change, right? So that's what I develop people and I mentor folks and I coach them now. So with my certifications and me going to UVA and graduating UVA and going back to PVCC, getting all these different certifications, motivation interviewing, peer support specialist, rap facilitations. I got a slew of these certifications now that I could be able to support folks in a major way, like I needed to support when I was going through what I was going through.
Right.
So that's kind of another thing about me building my back better, but also now to keep what I have, I got to give it away. And I got to give it away every day just so I can keep it and to resonate with me. So that's kind of a little bit about my why, you know, and plus I got a brother, man, Kitse, shout out to K9, you know, who's doing 28 years right now. And he been down 14. So these are my passions. These are my whys. These is why I wake up every day. My mom's, my grandmother, my brother, my hood, my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Sisters and brothers are still going through the same pain and traumas when they getting released. You know, they still got barriers that they got to face all across this great nation, right? Because the system ain't broken. It's doing design exactly what it's supposed to be doing, bro. So I'm here to combat that. You know what I mean? I'm here to disrupt that, right? And I'm doing it in a major way, but I could do it better and more impact with more of us. So that's why it's a team of us now. It ain't about me no more. It's about the whole squad, man. So we bringing up our brothers and sisters so it could be an army of us.
I feel you.
I told you I could talk, man. I could talk forever, baby.
Appreciate you. Nah, love it.
Shout out to you, Razor. I know you listening, brother. I know you smiling over there.
Yeah, I'm over here. I'm proud of you, man.
I love you, bro. You already know what it is.
Salute.
Love you back, man.
I remember I used to go to his barbershop in Greene County and complain to him about everything. Now look at us, bro. Now look at us, man. Great things, man.
Don't even get me started on Razor not cutting my hair anymore. Miss Max, please take us off. Please take us off.
I mean, honestly, I think this is like a y'all moment. Like, Charles, feel free to close however you see fit.
Oh man, like I just want to, dap up the brother because it's all love. It's all love. Like whenever I see him, I love when the brothers have that community, man. Like something he said multiple times was like bringing the community together and the partnering. The partnering is so important because I think we sort of, shoot ourselves in the foot so many times when we try to create these silos. And we know where it comes from. Like some of us, are raised not to trust or to have like a disdain for each other. And for us to have brothers like yourself that's trying to change that narrative is of the ultimate importance.
Collaboration is key, man.
Yes,
like
indeed.
I don't have to like you to work with you.
Yes, indeed.
I don't. You know what I mean? As long as we got a common goal and a common interest, let's make it to the finish line together.
That's right.
That's what I'm about, man.
That's right. And that's how we grow. That's how we become empowered, by empowering each other.
That's a fact.
Loving it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great show, and I hope you concur. We've had a great discussion. Sir Charles Max Razor, joined by none other than former police chief Dr. RaShall Brackney, and we closed out second half with none other than Fountain Fun National Director Martize Tolbert. So much to pull for, Miss Max Razor. I would say y'all got to follow up. This is a show that you want to go back and repeat. You want to share it because y'all know how to find us YouTube and IMHO Talk Show on all social media. This one of the ones where you gonna have to rewind Tez and be like, what did he say right there? I need to hear that again.
Yeah, I talk fast. You got to listen slow.
Yeah. No. But you were dropping gems though.
Yeah,
dropping gems. So thank you once again. Thank all our listeners, everybody that's stuck through yet another IMHO Talk Show.
Yes.
And remember, tell a friend, and we will catch y'all next time. Be blessed.
Foundfund.org.
That's right.
Catch me out. Foundfund.org. Catch me out at M Tolbert. M Tolbert at foundfund.org. One Stop Shop. Cville.org. Maine to Madison on IG. Maine to Madison on Facebook. Let me.
Take care, y'all.